Go in 3, 2, 1.
I knew it. My boy.
Welcome to episode 12 of PS Comics I Love You, the official pop culture podcast of KRP Broadcasting. I am, of course, coming to you live from my undisclosed Shield location somewhere in the wonderful city of Indio. I am the voice of reason, Kevin Pillow. You can find me at Voice of Reason 23. The address is down there below. That man over there who needs no introduction, but he still wants one. Yeah, he's the Dark King. He is the villain. He is the Joker to my Batman. Oh, I don't know. You're more like the Batman who laughs.
I'll take that.
You're sick and twisted. He is Jared Kambakungan.
Hey, what's up, people?
Also not at J. No, I forgot. You say it. I screwed it up already.
That's right about it. Also not Jared Comics 42 on Instagram, guys. And you can also find us on all our socials. All our socials across Instagram, Facebook, and the Twitters. It's, of course, PS Comics I Love You. Except for Twitter, it's PS Comics I Love You, letter U. Yeah. And so thank you guys again for just constantly, give some dimensions, just, telling us how we're doing, whether we meet face to face or here on the internet, on the interwebs. And today, guys, we're gonna have a topic that's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, you are the king of this topic.
King, yeah, I'm in the know. I'm in the know per se. But before that, guys, we're actually gonna have these just small little tidbits of news real quick. And I'm pretty sure.
Oh, but we forgot. We've gotten so used to this, JR. We almost forgot. You can listen to us anytime you want. On the go. You don't even need YouTube Premium. You don't need that little red service that for $15 a month, though. Support YouTube. Hit them up. But you can go to anchor.fm/PS Comics I Love You, all one word. Or you can look us up on all the majors, all the big guns of audio podcast formats. Google Podcasts finally made it official last week. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, a bunch of them. But go to anchor.fm/PS Comics I Love You. There will be a ton of links there on the bottom. Also, a chance for you to get involved with the show. There's a little button there if you want to make a subscription to our fine little program. And I think maybe JR will come up with something, little donation button, and he'll give you some freebie lessons or something like that. I don't know. He'll show you the real flex pool list. So I'm just saying. But yeah, we got some news and notes.
If anything, we went over this, I think, maybe about 5 minutes before the actual podcast, guys. This might be the rant of the day. So we have been doing that in a minute in the last couple episodes, but man, this might be the rant of the day here.
This is gonna be the grind my gears and the news and notes at the top of the show, all in one. It was bad. This happens in industries a lot. Unfortunately, in big business, there comes a time where you have to make some tough choices. I know that me being a professional wrestling fan, typically around WrestleMania, like about 4 or 5 weeks after WrestleMania, the WWE will purge itself of a lot of, in some cases, top talent. Yeah. It's a financial move. It's a business move. It's a creative move. But today, or actually this past week, as JR noted in our little notes here, and we'll let you get into like the real meat and potatoes of it, but the business side of it was DC Comics made a tough choice, and they let go a ton of staff and creators. I believe the number is damn near 50%.
Crazy.
Of the DC Comics staff was let go, and that's, top to bottom, big hitters were let go. We do know at this time that Jim Lee is I believe he is labeled as the chief creative officer for DC Comics. And he is still there, still making the big decisions. But yeah, big bloodletting at DC Comics. And it was funny. Did you get the meme that I sent you right before press time?
You did, man. You should put this on.
I will. It's a great. Let me see if I can find it real quick. This pretty much sums up what happened this past week, and I'll preface by saying, like, Disney's not a saint in any stretch of the imagination when it comes to big business, but at the same time, this is this right here kind of explains Warner Brothers' treatment of DC Comics since taking over. You can pretty much say that right there, those WB logos should be the AT&T logo as well, but that pretty much sums it up right there. Yeah, and you know what? And some will say like, oh, that Marvel's treatment by DC as a baby in itself is a bad thing, that they're kind of treated as like, oh, they're the little baby, but that little baby makes you some money.
Mm-hmm.
You and I talked about this, and we'll get into the creative side, but really from the business side, you and I were talking before the broadcast, and I had to time out. Let's save this for the show.
Yeah, man.
You and I agree on this. It is time. Warner Brothers and DC have been in bed with one another for, oh God, it has to be 5 decades. I mean, I'm almost positive the Donner Superman movies, the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, were produced by Warner Brothers. We do know that Batman, starting with the Tim Burton Batman in '89, was a huge Warner Brothers film. All 4 Batmans were. The Dark Knight trilogy was was kind of a combination, though. I think that Warner Brothers was involved with that, but also it was
it's more so Christopher Nolan.
It's Christopher Nolan's
more than anything else
production company, and then also I think it wasn't Legend. Also,
I think so. Yeah, I think
but
so.
Warner Brothers has always been at the heart of it.
Yeah,
and you and I agree that from a business standpoint, it's time for. I think you just got to cut the ties, man. Yeah. DC has got to be sold. It's got to be put up on the auction block. But here's the thing. I can't see any business, any studio, any production company taking that property, DC Comics, without the film rights attached to it. And you're talking about numbers with a B behind it in that deal. I mean, DC Comics for the last 10 years, top 5 in sales in comics and print.
Think of that, yeah. Like ever since, like they've had about 2 like reboots in the last, say, like 12 years, right? I think 12 years or so. And so like one hard reboot and one soft reboot. The soft reboot, of course, was Rebirth,
but New 52 was the big one.
So like, yeah, it's like they've always had great numbers, and even before this, is actually part of the news too, where Dark Knight Death Metal issue 3 outpaced Empire from Marvel. A bunch of issues, right, that has released in the last month or so have outpaced a lot of Marvel flicks, right? Specifically, even though they're the big ones, right? You know, Joker War, of course, Death Metal series, and I'm forgetting another one off the top of my head.
But even when Marvel was putting out some decent content back in like 15, 16, when they were setting up for Civil War II, for Secret Empire, you know, they've put out some halfway decent Marvel, that is halfway decent event storylines. Yeah. And DC still manages to outpace them
easily.
And they're not even doing events. I mean, really, if you look at what Marvel or what DC has done over the course of the last, just in the last 5 years, let's go to 2015, when the comic industry really got a shot in the arm. I mean, 2015, 2016, Marvel Cinematic Universe is in full tilt.
Yep.
At least 2 Avenger movies have been out.
Yep.
You know, you got Black Panther on the horizon. Big stuff is coming. DC's starting to get a little going. The Man of Steel's been out. Batman versus Superman, I think, was preparing to hit theaters. The talk of the Justice League, doing a Wonder Woman movie, Aquaman. But from Life was good for the comics industry. Yeah. And if you look at DC didn't do they didn't do event books. they didn't do.
Yeah.
I mean, death
They,
metal
yeah.
or DC, or what was it called?
Dark Knights.
Dark Knight metal or dark metal, whatever it was.
Yeah. The Dark Knight series, like that, like a lot of that stuff from what DC has been doing lately have been like they're the precipice stuff. Like they were hinted at like years in advance. Like it made sense. It
Yeah.
made sense. Not like what's going on currently with Empire, where like we figure out the son of Hulk. No, not Hulkling. Someone I forgot his name, but like this offbeat character that was supposedly a good guy is now king of both the Skrulls and the I forget the other race. It's Cat Marvel's race.
Kree.
The Kree, right, wanna just basically attack Earth. Why? Don't really know. It was an offbeat issue, right? But like death metal had death metal right now has a press like we had some inclination what's gonna happen because of Dark Knight on all those stuff, right? All the previous iterations. We knew what was going to happen with Doomsday Clock. Doomsday Clock was supposed to be that, right? It was supposed to give us the answers.
Yeah.
Like all of these things for all these, I guess, these big events for DC, they made sense. In to combat that, to compare that and contrast that with Marvel, those stuff are kind of hodgepodge together, man. Like, oh, it's this time of the year because so we got put out another event book, right? So let's put out another Civil War 2. Oh, the movie's coming out, Civil War 2. Oh, the movie's coming out, Captain Marvel. Oh, let's set up another Captain Marvel, 1 through 5 issues again. And we never really had that. But if you remember back 2016, 2017, the very first like I guess event book that happened for DC was the Button.
Yeah.
Right? It was that mini crossover between Batman and Flash, right? And that did great. And you had that crazy like chromatic-esque like covers, right? The hollow covers.
Lenticular.
The lenticular covers, right? And then those sold like hotcakes. What happens? Marvel literally the next year, every cover of Marvel lenticular cover.
Yep.
And
it was almost disgusting.
It's been like that, right? Of course, that goes throughout decades. One company copies the other, and sometimes it's Marvel, sometimes it's DC that does it. But specifically in the last couple of years, it's the DC that's been making the precipice, and it pisses me off now because of how AT&T is screwing up the good thing that DC is doing. Granted, yeah, you probably make more money making movies, but the movies ain't doing so great because the storylines aren't fleshed out properly, even though they literally have 80 years now of storylines.
And it's the thing is with AT&T is they don't understand and you have to understand is like it's what happens when you have a company like DC, and DC Comics is a big business. Marvel Entertainment was a big business. But when comic books took a slide from about 1995 to about 2000. I mean, both companies were hurting. The comic industry was hurting bad.
Yeah, it was.
But Marvel took it on the chin the worst because at least DC was consistently cranking out even bad movies. They had the Joel Schumacher Batman movies.
That's right.
They did the Brandon Routh Batman Superman Returns.
Even that was decent though.
I mean, it was okay. I mean, it was a bookend. It was a bookend to the Christopher Reeve movies. That's what it was designed to be. But really and truly, Batman, and people would go out, and obviously Christopher Nolan was huge with Batman Begins, but that wouldn't come till about 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
So DC, or I'm sorry, Marvel as a business, they were hurting, and they started selling the rights to their other stuff. So I mean, they're big business. But when you start folding it in and you go like, hey, Warner Brothers, you've been producing our movies for 40 years. Why don't you buy us? And it became a property. And then when Time Warner was bought out by AT&T, you get absolved and you now have to answer to a board of directors. And a board of directors goes, look at this comic book thing that's sitting over there costing us how much money, and it's only bringing in, because you got to imagine that DC Comics was still making money, but just not enough. That's the problem, is you have to answer it, and they'll go like you said, they're gonna just go look at it and go, what do we need the comic books for? We just make these stupid movies, these tentpole movies, and go collect our billion-dollar checks worldwide and call it. They're going to run out of ideas. And it's showing with now what? In the last 30 years, we are getting our 4th reboot of Batman. How many times can you tell the same story of the orphan who saw, saw his parents killed and he wants to get vengeance? Like, at least Zack Snyder, when he realized that he wasn't going to get Christopher Nolan, or wasn't going to get Christian Bale, he wasn't going to get the Christopher Nolan universe in his universe, that he rebooted Batman with Ben Affleck, but didn't have to retell the story. I mean, he did it in like a vignette at the beginning of Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
But he was like, he almost went like, guys, it's like what they did with Spider-Man with Peter Parker, or with the kid, the new guy. They didn't need to tell that story again.
Yeah.
But they're going to run out of ideas. And you're going to need these writers, and it's just, they're going to fall flat on their face.
Yeah.
So
the thing that's crazy about this is that even though for Marvel's in a great position because they built off 10 years, right? And so therefore they can kind of mix and match certain superheroes who they have in their docket, right? That they can put out, right? And so even though they can't technically do another origin story for Spidey, because I know legal reasons, if you do an origin story for Spidey, you gotta do this whole thing again. We gotta tell his whole story, because that's the fine print. I get it, yada yada. But right, if Tom Holland's Spider-Man is gone, right? Like let's say he gives the axe, they're in a great position now where they can just put in Miles Morales. They can literally just but I guess they have great influence to possibly take, these other characters, even though Sony technically still had the rights for it. Like they're in a great position where they can introduce new characters.
Yeah.
They're going to introduce Young Avengers eventually.
Oh yeah.
Probably the next 2 years ago, right? In 2 years. Kamala Khan, right? Kamala Khan's gonna be up there.
And you're going to see that with the video game, and you're going to see it with her getting her own series. I think that's one of the reasons why they haven't branched out Phase 4 as if they haven't flushed it out as much as they have in the past, because I think they don't know what they want to do with the quote Avengers 5 spot, the big team up movie. They don't know if they even want to do one. I know Kevin Feige said he does, but
which is fine to me, because I know we're getting off topic because we're supposed to be.
No, it's all right.
But which is fine with me, because they still kind of don't know who's the person, right? Who's the main pull now? Is it Captain Marvel? There's a really big precedent, right? You have this strong female character, white female character.
Yep.
Or is it Black Panther? Is it Spidey? Right? And so you have these varying degrees of that's a great problem to have for Marvel, right?
Yeah.
That's a great freaking problem to have, right? DC would love to have that problem, right? But DC doesn't, because they're trying to figure out to basically kind of keep their bearings and keep their overhead and not cut 50% of his freaking workforce, man. So that's just crazy to me, bro.
Yeah, and we see here in the news and notes too, going along with the firing of staff over the past week, DC cancels more comics. Teen Titans, Young Justice, Suicide Squad, Hawkman, and Hellblazer all get cut. Though it should be noted that Suicide Squad is just ending on issue 11 with another run coming up. And to be honest, I thought it was still in the current or the run that I collected, Suicide Squad, that is.
Yeah.
I didn't know it had gone to another series.
Yeah, but it's another iteration of the team.
I don't want to, and I said this off the air, that I didn't want to dig at creators because they're trying their best, but I can say I have never been impressed with the Suicide Squad books. The last series I collected, I thought, I was like, oh, I saw the movie. Premise intrigued me. Bad guys trying to do good. And I knew I'm not naive, but I knew going in that the book was going to be different than the movie. And it was funny was the book was trying so hard not to be like the movie, but at the same time going
It was the movie.
wink, it's like the movie.
Yeah.
Using the same characters, and it's the same thing that kind of got when they rebooted Guardians of the Galaxy in print form,
Mhm.
and that they brought in the exact same group as the movie. And for those of you who don't know, if I'm not mistaken, Groot, Rocket Raccoon, Gamora,
Yeah.
Star-Lord, and Drax, that combination of the Guardians, if I could be wrong, but I think that combination of the Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't think really teamed up all that often. I think they maybe combined for one. It was always kind of like a different group. I don't know. Sometimes Gamora wasn't there, or they had Quasar,
Yeah.
or other characters. So it's like
Adam Warlock was in there at one
yeah,
point
Warlock
too.
was a Guardian.
Yeah.
And then of course, obviously the homage they made in Guardians 2 with the team that was put together at the end of the end credits with Sylvester Stallone, that actually was the original Guardians of the Galaxy. But anyways, but just again off topic. But going back, you mentioned Dan Didio, who was, I believe, the former editor in chief or CEO of DC Comics. It looks like he's working for Image now.
Not really. I put this on there because it's kind of interesting to me, right? Because right, he writes an introduction letter, right, for one of his favorite DC writers,
for Steve Orlando,
right, and that is very intriguing. Like he never really, well, he has had interviews since February, since he stepped down, right, and basically just left the company, and it was interesting to me that he put on Steve Orlando, who's a phenomenal writer, right? Really, really good writer. And I recommend people to go read his letter. It's an interesting letter. It's nothing too shady. It's more so just talks about Steve Orlando as a writer and how he wants to do crossover stuff, and how, not crossover stuff, but like how he wants to, like, take your genuine stories of, superheroes. And so Steve Orlando's doing this new book called Commanders in Crisis with David Tinto. And it actually intrigues me. It's basically 5 superheroes that came from a multiverse, right? A dying multiverse comes into a new world, and it looks interesting. It looks good. I just put that on there because, like, it's a crazy set of events that's happened literally in the span of like maybe 2 weeks or so. We have all these DC problems, and then you have Dan Didio, who was the guy for DC, circa February of this year, making introduction letters to honestly one of the better writers from DC.
And if you look, for those of you who aren't familiar with Steve Orlando, just looking at some of the books that I've collected over the last few years, Steve Orlando was on the volume 7 of Supergirl, and it should be noted that if the book, and some will say like, oh, he got, because people will look at his sales and be like, oh, dude, his book sold like crazy. Maybe he had a little boost in the sales, because if you look at the books that he wrote on, they were all the art germ covers of Supergirl. But yeah, perks of doing that. But he worked on some of the old some of the old Supergirl books. He worked on Wonder Woman. He most recently, and he did his most recent stuff that it looks like he contributed to DC was DC Cybernetic Summer, which was a kind of a one-shot summer book. But no, he's a good writer. I actually did like the Supergirl stuff that he did. I thought it was interesting. I did, for the most part, collect it for the artwork. I thought the interior was pretty good. Of course, the covers with Art Germ and others. But I think he's a good writer.
I mean, I more so read his stuff on Doom Patrol. Oh, not Doom Patrol, but like a little bit of Wonder Woman. He did some really like offbeat things with Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
When he was still part of the series and was still, I'm looking at him too. He did an offbeat one with Doom Patrol. I read the original Doom Patrols, and so it's just interesting to me how DC's handling this stuff. It's handling. Uh, I don't know how to put it nicely.
There's no way to put it nicely, and
It's just crazy how like how you basically gotta have the old head, right, of the old not CEO but like the old basically creator or no or COO of the company, mid-February, basically kind of hype you up and say, hey, I'm hyping one of my favorite writers up to basically look for new work.
yeah.
That's it. This is all it really is. Here's my guy that I worked with before. Here's new work. They did not do that at all with the 50 people that they basically fired.
Yeah.
During a pandemic, where they switched companies, where they switched distribution companies, and it's infuriating because they've shot themselves in the foot already, and they're constantly doing it, and it's dragging the good name of Jim Lee down. And it's irritating me, dude.
I feel so bad for Jim because he's such a great creative mind, and people will say that he's just a good artist, and some will say that
He gets the blame for all
he's
this,
above it.
though.
He's actually got a very creative mind. He did influence, though he did not. I mean, he's written some stuff, but he's known mostly for his artwork.
Mm-hmm.
But he reading some interviews that Chris Claremont's done and interviews that Jim Lee's done, Jim Lee had a lot of creative input with
Mm-hmm.
Claremont on the X-Men series back in the 90s.
Yep.
And then, of course, Jim Lee, when he started his own studios, was it Wildcats?
Yeah, Wildcat Studio, yeah.
Over at Image, he wrote and drew and owned all of his own stuff, and eventually he just got done with drawing. So, Jim Lee, I just feel so bad because he's such a creative mind and could add so much to it. And it's kind of like almost like it's going to come down to the point where Jim Lee's going to be like Thanos and be like, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
Yeah. Crazy thing too. Actually, I also just noticed a small tidbit. They're also okay. So this is probably going to irritate you. Another thing from DC. I remember looking up when I was looking up some of these news right here. I didn't really put in where that Jim's also saying that some of our collectibles going to be more expensive now too.
Oh yeah, they were talking about the collectibles.
He's like, yeah, they're gonna be more expensive.
Yeah,
I'm like,
because they know that DC Collectibles, which, in my opinion, I have 2 or 3 pieces from DC Collectibles.
Mm-hmm.
I would put it on par with Sideshow. For its,
you talking about the Hot Toys Sideshow?
That's kind of what they're on par with.
Okay.
I mean, Sideshow does these gigantic, in some cases, JR, and you can look no further than JR's private bedroom. Mm-hmm. Sideshow could do a 6 foot tall, Batman. I think didn't Javelle have that 6-footer? Didn't he have some big ass?
Recall. But he probably does, man. But
I mean, they go big and go home, but they do smaller. They do the Hot Toys, which are more of the high-end action figures, but they do smaller scale statues,
miniatures, figurines, yeah.
But DC Collectibles has done I think has done a better job at doing the quality of work on those smaller, 16-inch tall statues. Like I said, I have. You have 2 or 3 of, I have 2 Supergirls.
Yeah. Sure,
and I have a Batgirl. I am on the waiting list to get the Catwoman wedding dress because I waited. I should have bought it, but I waited. I wanted to give Chick the business, and when she ordered it from Sideshow, they were already sold out. So I don't even care if I get a second run of the statue. I want the statue. I should have bought it. Damn it. But they see blood in the water. DC Collectibles is a good quality product. Okay, slap a bigger price tag on it. Sucks because they are pretty reasonably priced. DC Collectibles statues for a 16-inch statue, good quality. It's not PVC. It's usually I wouldn't call it porcelain, but it's just a higher grade material. what, 140 to 160 bucks on average.
That's what I'm paying right now for the thing that you wanted. I think that, yeah.
Oh, you
the Batman.
dick! You got one?
Hell yeah, dude.
I should have bought it. I was
okay.
hemming and hawing because I sent you the link. I think I sent you the link. I wanted that one, but I also wanted the Gwenpool that was coming out.
Okay, the Gwenpool is a different one. Yeah. Are you talking? What?
No, but the Gwenpool one, I was like, I really want it because Gwenpool's my favorite character right now. But it was cheap. It was PVC, and I don't like PVC statues. They usually break easily. They don't ship well. So I was like, if I'm going to spend, and it was twice the money. It was almost $300.
Jeez.
Actually, I think it was over. I think it was $320. I take that back. It was $320. I was like, no, I'm not paying that much money. It's a cool statue. If it was made by, I swear, if Marvel should just subcontract to DC Collectibles just to make their statues. But I was like, I just couldn't pull the trigger because I think it is because it came out during San Diego Comic-Con. And I already had bought.
That's right.
I'd made a purchase through Midtown. I'd made a purchase through Marvel Made, which is their new collectible line. And then I ordered stuff from Aspen. So I was like, all right, I'm over budget on Comic-Con, and I ain't no Comic-Con. But you dick, you bought that statue.
You're talking about the Batman, right? Batman Noir?
No, I'm talking about the Catwoman wedding statue.
Oh, that one, yeah.
If you bought that one, I'm gonna buy it off you.
Actually,
I'll give you your money back.
No, I didn't get that one.
All right, well, I'm on wait list.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, go back to the. We could get that. We could do a flex poll when JR stuff comes in. So yeah, DC.
Rants of the day,
bro.
Like, I mean, they're gonna have to sell it, dude. And who are they gonna sell it to?
Marvel.
Like,
Disney.
I wish, but then you can't do that because that's already a freaking that's a conglomerate, dude. Not conglomerate. What's the other word?
Monopoly.
Like they have monopoly on the freaking thing already, right?
I wonder if they could do this.
Go ahead.
This would be interesting, and then I want to get into something.
I got it.
And then we get into CGC. Marvel does a little back channeling. Say, hey, we can get DC
easily.
All right,
easily.
They go to Sony. Sony, you don't want Spider-Man. You don't want the Spider-Verse. Give it here. Let us have it. And we will hand deliver DC Comics to Sony Pictures. Who else is it going to go to? Because I can think of only one other person, one other studio that is looking for content.
Apple?
The big A, Apple. They are on the verge. Apple is on the verge of, on multiple occasions, pre-pandemic though, of buying the streaming rights to MGM Studios, one of the last big studios that does not have a streaming platform. And the reason they want MGM for one reason and one reason only, James Bond. They want that catalog bad. They also are talking with the Pac-12 to negotiate their streaming rights because Apple wants to get into the sports franchise. But I could see them little back channeling, maybe Sony Pictures, but Sony sees dollar signs with Spider-Man. They know probably Spider-Man. You know what? Spider-Man's worth more than Batman probably right now.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, sadly. And the crazy thing too is that even though the movies might do better, maybe that's a big maybe.
Yeah.
I can't see them. I'm a big Sony fan, as people notice, right? I can't see them I can't see them fund comics because already, before I think the last 2-3 years, right? The only thing that's been making money for Sony was the PS4.
PlayStation and the movies.
No, just the PS4. Just the only. It was crazy because everything else in Sony was red except for the PlayStation.
You can't make cameras anymore. They do make actually take that back. I mean, it's probably still running in the red, but their cameras are good because a lot of content creators use Sony cameras for streaming purposes and stuff like that. But no, definitely the PlayStation division is definitely what kept Sony in the green.
Yeah.
For
a very, very
but
long time.
We could talk about where DC is going to go. We could probably do a whole DC episode and just watch JR melt down and cry.
I'm looking for it. At the same time, I'm not looking for it. But yeah.
Real quick before we get into CGC, it should be noted this past week that speaking of one more thing about DC, Fandom is coming on August 22nd. It is all but a far-gone conclusion that the Batman and the Suicide Squad will have trailers or footage coming out. Also, heavily rumored is first some kind of footage of Black Adam, meaning Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is guaranteed to be at Fandom, is coming. So I imagine we get to see Black Adam. Also should be noted that more DC Universe original content is still on the platform, but its exclusivity has been kind of vacated and has started to move over to HBO Max. DC Universe is on life support. All the good stuff, including Doom Patrol, Titans, Harley Quinn, have all moved over to HBO Max. The Batman movies, the Superman movies, they left and were available at launch.
Yeah.
So, R.I.P. DC Universe.
I'm sad. I'm sad about that because I love Young Justice.
Yeah.
That was good. That was a good series. I wanted to watch season 3, but yeah.
Yeah. Also, it should be noted too this past week on the Marvel side, Marvel Television saw its last original show close out. Of course, Marvel Television produced the likes of Daredevil, The Punisher, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Defenders, The Runaways.
And the last one.
They also produced Cloak and Dagger. They also did Agent Carter, and most notably, they did Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And the end of season 7 and the end of the series happened this past Wednesday. I have not watched episode 6 or 7, or I haven't watched the last 2 episodes. So I'm 2 weeks behind. I'm gonna warm up Hulu probably tonight or tomorrow, and bang that out. But I've read some things about the final episode without spoiling anything. I'm intrigued. We'll see what happens. But I'm really disappointed because it was a really, really good show.
I mean, yeah, I can't say too much because I've been trying to get into watch Agent Shield, but like I have that weird that whole what's the word I'm looking for? It's like where you look at there's a specific term for it, but like when you look at like how daunting the whole thing is, right? You kind of just don't want to do it.
It's an easy show to watch. I think once it's all 7 and the previous 6 seasons are available on Netflix, but I got to imagine with season 7 coming to close, they're all going to move over to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It's an easy show to watch, to binge. You just got to get over the horse. Get over the
first season.
The first season. You have to get over the kind of the barrier of the first half of season 1. Now, I enjoyed season 1 because there's a lot of subtle little foreshadowing early on in season 1 that I'm like, oh, I'd never caught that before. So it is kind of fun to go back and watch it with a different set of glasses on, knowing what happens, and you're like, okay, you can watch it differently and go like, okay, I can understand why fans didn't like it, but I can also understand
why they did it.
I look at it and go like, bro, you've got to give this a second chance. And there was really good writing. Hats off to Joss Whedon for producing it for all these years. His brother Jed Whedon did a great job. His wife did a fantastic job. She acted in a couple episodes as well. So again, thank you for the memories. Here's hoping that Clark Gregg and Chloe Bennett and Ming-Na Wen and the whole crew eventually get to have their big cinematic moment. But
I know they've been kind of hinting at that too.
Supposedly. They have, but I just don't know how you could reintroduce Clark Gregg's Agent Phil Coulson into the Marvel Cinematic Universe main.
I'm talking about Chloe. I'm talking about Chloe Bennett, man.
Oh, I honestly no. I think Quake will find her way into the main universe, especially with doing Young Avengers or doing a Secret Wars, or them. I think that the bad taste of the TV show Inhumans has kind of soured them on that race, but we can still know that Inhumans exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, technically it's in the Marvel TV universe, but
it's gonna they'll flesh that out eventually. That's the biggest thing.
But like I said, unfortunately, it came to an end. But ABC really just didn't know what to do with it because I think they were sold a bill of goods that it was going to cross. So they thought they were going to get Robert Downey Jr. on Agents of Shield, and I know that when his contract ran up with Marvel before they went into production for the last two Avenger movies, he had hinted at. He did an interview and he goes, now that Iron Man 3 is over and his contract was up, though people knew he was going to be in the next two Avenger movies, but there was a period of time between those. He goes, what are you going to do? And he goes, well, I heard we have a television division, which was funny because spoiler alert, if you have not seen all the seasons, when he made the comment at the end, it happened at the end of, I think it was like season 3. And in that season, there was no longer a director of Shield.
Yeah.
So people were thinking about, is this where Stark Industries, like it did in the comic books, takes over Shield? But it obviously didn't happen. And I think ABC just never knew what to do with it. But anyways, RIP Agents of Shield, Clark Gregg, thank you for the memories. Hashtag Coulson lives. We got great characters like Agent Melinda May, who I think did so much for Agent Melinda May and Sky/Daisy Johnson, aka Quake, did so much for badass females in Marvel and comic book shows, and I think that Elizabeth Henstridge and Ian, I can't think of his name, is DeCallister, who played Agent Fitz and Simmons, did so much again to kind of like what Big Bang Theory did in the comedy realm, bringing the sciences to the masses. Both those characters did so much to bring really nerd culture to the masses, and did really good because a lot of the science they talked about, though it was comic booky, does really exist. And they made time travel fun and a lot of other things. So
spoilers, dude. Spoilers.
I know. But yeah, let's talk.
My topic. Actually, before that, guys, I think we didn't do this last week though. We gotta have a happy belated birthday to Kevin Pillow. He is just turned 18 years old, guys.
Again,
18 years old with 2 kids, man. 2 kids and a wife.
Yeah, 2 kids and a wife. 18 years old. No, turned 39 on Friday, and I'm trying to there's the hairline. It just this virtual backdrop, it was looking like oh dude.
You might as well just do the thing I did.
No,
yeah, guys, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
We have a happy birthday in the chat, or happy birthday in the comments, guys. Or if you follow him on social media, just spam it out for him. Happy belated. But yeah, dude, thank you. Just really appreciate this guy, man. I think where I have my position now, he's on like above me now instead of beside me. But yeah, whatever. But yeah, he's cool. Awesome, dude. Thanks. Here's to hopefully way more birthday left for this, man. We're gonna celebrate. Yeah, on to the main topic, guys. Why CGC comic certified guaranteed company actually is the name of it. I did a little bit. You know, it was funny. I haven't done this much research for CGC until I literally just had to look it up, right? I kind of had like a layman's term, like a layman's knowledge of what CGC is, right?
1, 2, 3, 4 full pages of research that he sent over to me on CGC.
Yeah, and some of that stuff was kind of was basically I shortened it. It was kind of crazy, man. And so, like, I always knew about CGC. I sent stuff to CGC, of course, so I know about it, right? But like, I never really understood, like, where the company came from and all this stuff, guys. But yeah, we're gonna talk about CGC today and why you should or shouldn't, CGC your stuff. Normally, as a collector and as someone who's probably gonna resell, I do CGC because one, it's we'll get into the points anyway. But so for point one, guys, what is CGC? CGC, of course, I said before, is a company, certified guaranteed company. It one of the league leaders in grade. Actually, I think it is now the league leader in grading comics per se, but they also do trading cards, magazines, and other collectibles. I've seen them do like video games. I've seen them do.
They've done action figures. I've seen
Yep.
them on Comic Book Men, which is a show that was on AMC.
AMC. Yep.
There was a couple of them. They had it was the prototype. It was the Boba Fett prototype action figure for Return of the Jedi, or I'm sorry, for Empire Strikes Back, that did not see the light of day because of choking hazard or something like that. And the guy brought it into the secret stash on the show and it was in a CGC box. It almost looked like an action figure like box, like you'd see on a little peg in the toy store. For those who are unfamiliar, and again, for those of you listening on the audio podcast, you're gonna have to go to YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel. The link is in the description of the podcast. To help JR with visual aid, this is what a CGC looks like. We'll obviously talk about the different colors here in a second.
I got a lot of CGC stuff for that. But yeah, definitely, guys, that's just your, like, it's basically plexiglass, but like for the CGCs for their grading purposes of like other media, like video games, like collectibles, toys, collectibles. I think they have yet to do pops though, so that's the biggest thing too. That might be the biggest thing.
That might be the next thing that they do. Yeah.
And so, but it kind of looks like, I think now you'll see, it looks like there's a high value product in the store. That little like plexiglass case they put in. It looks like that, right, for toys and collectibles, right? But yeah. They do the exact same thing. They're mainly known for comics. They're the league leader in grading comics, even though CBCS and PGX, and there's another one too that recently has come out. They've been in the mix, but then it's always CGC now, right? And so it's a third party company. It's a third party company, meaning that
this is an example of the other companies.
Yeah, CBCS in top right. They are a third party company that are quote unquote unbiased. I say that term. Okay, they don't have a stake, hopefully, in any company of Image, Marvel, or DC.
No, they're kind of unbiased. I mean, there are
when it comes to grading. I mean, sure. I mean, they did get that pull of getting like certain authors and writers to just only sign for them. But then that's totally, of course, different topic. They're based right now in Sarasota, Florida. Yeah. But they began in I'm a butcher this name, dude.
It's
Parsippany, New Jersey. And they started about January 4th, 2000. So 20 years, man. And so yeah, they're mainly known for just grading comics, guys. And they rely on a 10-point system, going from 0 to NG to 0 being the worst. Not NG, of course, means no grade, and to 10 to a 10. And it differentiates between like 1, 2. I think from points 1 or 0 to like 5. It's usually like on a big 1-point scale. I think at the zeros, I think they increment from like 0.5 to 1, then 0.5 to 2, 0.5. I think from the lower ends. I think around like 8, and definitely 8 and 9 specifically, right? That you get into 9.2s, 9.4s.
This is the number he's talking about.
Yeah, and 9.8. 10, you'll have a hard time finding 10s, specifically in. But I do have a 10. I do have a 9.9.
You have a 10? I thought your sister had a 10.
I bought her that 10.
The 10 is in that house right now.
Yeah, there's a 10. There's a couple of 10s in my house, and I have a 9.9. But
there's a 10 right here.
Oh, that's all day.
CGC this. Oh my goodness.
But anyways, but
So,
anyways, yeah, like
and,
what?
and I was just saying on the point system, you're right. I think it is. It does kind of like just to kind of
Differentiates.
almost speed up the grading
Yeah,
process.
yeah.
That
You
they
don't.
aren't as picky
Yeah,
in the lower, like below 5. It's
you can't.
5.5, 5,
Yeah.
4.5. However,
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. Could have been a 4.5. I thought it was a 4.6.
Mm,
But again, it could have been an older
mm,
graded
yeah.
CGC, or it could have been a different. Maybe it could have been a different. Um, could have been a different company. I was in the presence of I think it's Amazing Spider-Man number 15, or Amazing Fantasy number
Fantasy 15?
15, first
First
appearance of
appearance?
Spider-Man.
Okay.
And there was a guy at San Diego Comic-Con. It was slabbed, graded. Like I said, I'd be willing to bet my butt money that it said 4.6. But to JR's point, it could have been a different company now that I think about it. But and I've seen the guy wanted 16 grand for it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's actually cheaper now. Now it's cheaper.
Yeah, well, this was in 2015.
Yeah. So actually, to make that point, when it comes to older books, right? When and I'll run through this
Yeah.
eventually in this thing. When it comes to older books, right? When you have your Amazing Fantasy, or you have books that are like in the 1940s, 1960s, right? Those point systems in the lower end are probably there because time has passed. Decades has passed. You don't know where these books came from. You don't know how torn up they were. And so I think I have seen a 1.6 before, but like it was an older book. It was an older book, and it was still like about 10 grand. And so I'm like, okay, that's understandable. When you're dealing with high money like that's in that sense, the point systems really do matter. But on that, guys, as you've seen from our example above, or on my end above, they're encapsulated in a clear case shell, with on the top left corner, you'll see the grade. On the top right corner, you will see, or on top right, top left corner, you'll see the grade. On top right corner, I think it's like, a little like
It's like it's a hologram.
hologram certification type of thing.
Certification.
Yep. And of course, in his case, he has a yellow label. I'll get through that eventually. Yellow labels. It usually comes in blue, right? And of course, we're gonna go through. That's a strip right there. I got something to show you. You're gonna get pissed off. But yeah, the blue, you saw, of course, one in blue, one in yellow, and those are gonna be differentiate. They're gonna differentiate. The blue labels usually mean that's a normal or standard comic book, right? Nothing's done with it. It's just your normal comic book. And I'm not even getting to like off whites and whites. That's a totally different, subject.
And what JR is talking about, and again, if you'll get little comments here, and again for the video people, you get little comments about off white, and I've never understood that. I've had people try to explain it to me, and
I can go through it, but like it's just we don't need to know that right now per se, right?
Yeah.
Blue NG, there's a thing called blue NG, basically mean that not great, no grade is like if the comic itself is so bad that they're not gonna basically grade it, they're just gonna encapsulate it, right? And so like let's say you only have the front cover, right? That's an NG. Let's say let's say like 8 pages of the actual comic you're missing, and like the back half is torn off. That's gonna be NG. And so they'll do it. They'll definitely slab it for you, right? Slabbing.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you encapsulate it. They'll definitely slab it for you. It's just that like it's just that you're doing it because you just like the cover, or it has some type of intrinsic value to you. And of course, there's a purple cover now, which means restored. These purple covers usually come to the contact with these books where like they've been altered. Let's say it's an older book from the 50s and 60s. I've actually seen a crazy freaking like Instagram user who restored all his books, man. They get like 9.8. I'm talking about like your Batman 50s, your Batman 25s, and your Wonder Woman like 4s, right? And this guy, he does it professionally, or he goes to someone that does it professionally to restore the coverage, restore any missing lines, touch up certain pages, because time just eats away at these books per se.
Oh yeah,
Easily eats away, right? And so if it's altered, it'll make note of it. You know, if it's done professionally, if it's done slightly, or if it's done moderately, it's a purple label. It'll show that's been altered. It'll show that's been touched up. A green qualified book, though, if it's a green label on top, I think I have like one here. I can't find it. If it's a green label on it, it means that there's something about the book that was altered, where it wasn't professionally done. But like, let's say there's a big let's say the book itself is perfect, right, in the front, but like pages 15 and 16 has this big tear in the middle.
yeah.
Right, that's gonna say, oh, it qualifies for rating, but understandably so, there's something wrong with it. Or let's say you have you go to a Comic-Con, and I've done this before too. You go to Comic-Con and you have somebody of that you love writers for, and you just have them sign it, right? And you go to CDC and say, hey, I got a book signed. And they're gonna say, "Oh, but we didn't witness it." Like, what does that mean? What does witnessing mean? Well, CGC, in order for them to authenticate that whoever wrote on the book is legit, is the person who wrote it, they gotta have somebody there with you.
Yeah.
And so if there wasn't a person there with you, they're basically gonna say, "Okay, we'll take it." But then on the label, right, it'll just say a signature is on there, rather than the actual name of the person who wrote it. Even though, let's say you took a picture, right? Even though you have videotape of the guy signing it, if there isn't a person that is a CGC witnesser, or is trained by CGC, or is authenticated by CGC, that's like, part of a comic book shop or whatever.
Yeah.
If there's not a witnesser there, they're gonna give you a purple label, or they're gonna give you a green label. That's it.
And for a side note on that, for those of you who would be kind of offended by that, I get it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, what's the other one?
CBCSI?
And I think the other two in PGX, they have authenticators who can look at a signature. That's where you get these people that get rivaled and go like, oh, freaking CGC's just in the back pocket of Marvel, man, or they don't really care. They'll slap a 9.6 on anything just to get your your money. Blah blah blah. I'm like, I think the other two companies, or one of the two, and I could be wrong, has an authenticator on staff that if a book is sent in, like JR said, that, hey, what's this? What's this on here? Oh, that's not just a felt pen, those old, how they used to write 10 cents on it to mark them down at the old, they call them the drugstore copies, because what newsstands would do is they would sell them, newsstands that when they were left over with extra comics, they would sell them to drugstores. Drugstores would then mark them down from 50 cents, 25 cents down to 10 cents or a nickel. And they would have to write on there because they didn't want, which was funny, they didn't want to damage the book by putting a price sticker on it, but they'll take a freaking a pen and they'll draw on it. Now, side note, part of CGC's, again, I'm sure JR will get in this, I think CGC offers, or one of the companies offers, the ability to clean a book, and in some cases can get those wax pins or whatever off. But going back, one of the two other companies, I'm 90% positive, has an authenticator that goes, yeah, that looks like a Todd McFarlane signature. Yeah, that looks like an Art Germ signature. Or, hey, where'd you get it? Or, oh, you have a photo of that actual book. Like, hey, here, it's Supergirl 26 being signed by Stanley Lau.
Yeah.
And then you get pretty much the exact same book in the mail. They'll go like, okay, and they have their own version of a signature series.
Yeah.
They'll say, yeah, authenticated, the signature is legit. It's, whatever.
It's here's the thing about that too. Like, of course, the late great Stan Lee, right, passed away 2019, right? I wonder how many people sent in Stan Lee's signature in, thinking they get it authenticated and actually legit when they have it come back purple. Because that's the big thing too. Because like when I know that I'm gonna get into this later.
Yeah.
Actually, this kind of segue into my next point, actually, where the reason why they have signatures is basically for authentication, right? And so even though you might have a book that was signed by your favorite writer or favorite so and so, let's say you have, Christian Bale sign a Batman book,
Yep.
right? But it's for you, and then I want to get this, slabbed. I want to get it certified. It's gonna come back green because there was no one there to see at the time. And people are of course gonna have, they're like, their rants about that. But from a perspective, like, I know for me, I'm probably gonna sell the book. I understand why, because I don't want, I don't want a fake Stan Lee signature book out there in the wild, supposedly authenticated, when I know for the fact that Stan Lee passed away in 2019, right? And as we all know, for those who've been collecting, we had this huge upsurge of like people selling Stan Lee stuff.
Yep.
Even though, granted, Stan Lee signature is probably is definitely the most, like, there's
Sought
definitely
after.
not just sought after, but like he has signed a lot of books, There's a lot more Stan Lee books. I'm pretty sure McFarlane, those probably to overtake him in like the next like 3 years probably. But like, there's a lot more Stan Lee signed books out there, and that's just another thing that I look at, right? You gotta have somebody that was there, that saw the man write this stuff, that write his signature there for a seller or a buyer like me to say, all right, cool, if it's CGC, and it's signed and it's authenticated and it's a yellow label, which I'll get into right now, then I'll definitely probably, my intention to buy it is upkick, right? Is definitely solidified there now. So what I mean by yellow label is that there's a signature series specifically for CGC where if it's signed by somebody that is of note, usually you think to be of note to the book that you have, there you go, right? CDC has this awesome thing where they'll introduce the yellow label on it, where it'll say, hey, this is the person who signed it, this on this date at this convention or whatever it may be, and on this date, and then it's authenticated saying, hey, yeah, this is legit. This is a book that's signed by this person, right? We are okaying this. And the last one, of course, is yellow purple signature series, and that's just basically saying, so it's a signature there it's a signature book that's been restored.
Yeah.
That's it. And you can take that as you will. I know I've seen people try to sell books like that before, and that's fine. I just more so just go for the yellows and the blues. So that's just me.
It should be noted too. To piggyback here is also a CBCS book. They do have their authentic signature program yellow label as well. Though I have seen our CGC put more specific information on their books. I'll use this as example to kind of go with what JR was just talking about. Is this book right here? It's a 9.6 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #5. This is from the original run. This is series 1. This is issue #5. I actually have 2 copies. I have a raw one and this one, both signed by Kevin Eastman. And it says right here underneath, Mirage Studios 1985, signed and sketched by Kevin Eastman on 6/16/19. Unfortunately, what they did not put, and it kind of irritated me, is they put everything on there except the location in which he signed it. I have it. I know where I got it. I have the picture of him signing it. I have the information on my CLZ input, but it kind of bugged me for some reason that they did not put the location, which was Amazing Con in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And I remember I was asking. It was funny. I was talking to someone about that when I got the book last fall. Why didn't they put that on there? I mean, they were literally next to Kevin Eastman's book in Vegas. And someone told me, oh, no one does that. And yet you turn around and I got from a friend of mine, shout out to Empty Tombs Comics.
I was about to say Empty Tombs.
I got a 4-pack. Actually, it was a 4-pack. I gave one to our good friend Atner. Shout out to Atner, who's a regular listener of the show. I have this Harley Quinn #1 signed by Amanda Connors and Chad Harding. And it says specifically here, 8/6/2016 at the Tampa Bay Comic Con.
Yep.
And then it says Bill Sinkiewicz, Jim Palimati,
Yeah.
and Alex Sinclair signed on October 9th, 2016 at New York NYCC, New York Comic Con.
Yeah. It's I think what happens is that like only the quote unquote big cons do it because I've seen it too, right? Like so here's my here's my example too though. This is Monstrous 1, 9.8 Double
Nice.
Sun by Sana and Marjorie. And so this is a book that's gonna go out just soon because I know they've been trying to do that HBO series for a while now.
Yeah.
And so
it should be noted to piggyback on what JR said real quick. Though it and we'll get into the pricing of what it costs something to get graded. It should be noted that it's a relatively simple process to get a witness for a signature. It does not cost you anything to go get a witness. It's easier when you're at a con that's a little bit smaller. WonderCon would probably be the easiest of the quote big cons to get a CGC witness.
Yeah.
Being it's a smaller con, but it's big enough because it's ran by CCI, so there's a little bit of influence. And actually, I have seen CBSC. I've seen CBCS also. CBCS. I believe is at WonderCon last year or in 2019. I have. You just go over and ask. Get on a waiting list for somebody to say, "Hey, I'm going to go over and I'm going to take this."
It's very, very, very simple to do. I mean,
I'm going to take this Willow book over there to get Jen Bartel to sign it. Which shout out to Jen Bartel. She did the cover art for Willow #1, which looks awesome, and I picked it up. I bought issue #1 and 2 for my wife, and then I bought the Jen Bartel variant cover because I'm a huge fan of Jen's books.
Yeah. It's particularly very, very. It should be when you're at smaller cons. When you're at smaller cons, that's usually the best time to get your stuff signed. I'm granted, of course, like you're gonna the bigger cons, you're gonna have like your big names, right?
Yeah.
But just for example's sake, right? 2018 Comic-Con Palm Springs, Jim Lee. That line was insane.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That was that line wrapped around like so much, but like we got there in time. And so, of course, I got signed Jim Lee.
Nice.
Right. Jim Lee 9.8, Justice League 4. And actually, never mind. No, it just says just when did he sign it. But yeah, that's getting just someone that's authorized to basically witness the signature is pretty easy, relatively easy. Even though I've heard some horror stories. Well, not really horror stories, but some stories where like the witnesser looks at his phone and the signing was there already, and then like it's not authenticated. I've heard those stories.
I have heard those. Yeah. I will say with JR, and I was going through my notes. I'm partly wrong. For the most part, if you go and get a witness to come over and you have an agreement with the artist or the creator, they will do it for free.
Yeah.
CGC is not going to charge you to be a witness. Let me preface that. CGC, CB, CS, PGX, or whatever it was, they're not going to charge you to come over and witness.
Yeah.
However, the artist, the writer, the creator, the person who is doing the signature,
they're going to charge
you. I've seen if they do, I tell you this way, if they're charging for the signature, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to charge you for a witness.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. If you're now I have seen it being kind of 50-50. If you're not paying for the signature, you're going to pay $10 for the CGC. Reason being, artist wants to get his touch. He wants to get his taste because he knows you're going to sell the book.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to touch on that too. We're like, if the artist or author knows for a fact you're gonna sell it on CGC, right? They're probably like that signature that I think it was Campbell that did it, right? His signature went from like I think $10, right? 10, 25 bucks, 10 somewhere between 10 20 bucks, right? Just regular signature. Oh, you want it? Oh, it's gonna be CGC. All right, that's gonna be like 35 bucks, 30, yep. 40 bucks, right? Rob Liefeld, his signature went from like 50 to 85 bucks that just that day. I went there. I'm like, okay. whatever. But yeah, that's just basically it. And that's the whole, thing to do with like secondhand markets and like just reselling stuff. So that we get that. That's a topic for another day. But
It also should be noted too. A lot of artists will dangle the carrot of a free signature in front of you, including the great J. Scott Campbell, because they know they're probably going to want to get a CGC.
yeah.
And then they'll turn around and say, okay, I'm not going to charge you for the signature. I'm charging you for the witness.
Yeah.
I have seen this, and you can ask if you have no intention, which is weird, like me, if you have no intention of flipping the book, but you still want it slabbed and you want the signature, you can negotiate with some artists or creators. I keep just giving too much credit just to the artists, but for the most part, if you're getting a book signed on the cover, you're getting it because of the cover artist.
Yeah.
If you are wanting it witnessed, signed, slabbed, and graded, and you have no intention of selling it, reselling it, you can negotiate with the creator and say, personalize it. And 9 times out of 10, they will not charge you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of artists on Artist Alley, especially in San Diego, that do normally charge anywhere from $5 to, in some cases, $20 for a signature. Will turn around and say they'll have on their sign. I saw a guy charging $20 a signature, $20 for a signature. Really kind of put a damper on my my budget.
Yeah.
But on his sign said, do you want this personalized? Meaning they'll sign it to Kevin, Excelsior, Jim Lee, or Stanley. If you agree to that, he won't charge you for the signature or the witness. So
yeah.
But that's few and far between people that are actually like, no, I want my book graded, and no, I'm not going to sell it. But that weird person is me, because I really have no intention of selling my books.
It's comic book selling the last couple of years, man. It's been crazy. But yeah, just onto my second bullet point. Why you should send your stuff to CGC? Why should you send
JR?
It? Why? Because comic books prices have been going crazy the last couple of years. That's why.
Exactly.
And like, even though that's like one of the most volatile, I guess, quote unquote, markets right now when it comes to collectibles, right? Price fluctuation will always change, right? It's always going to differ, right? Like, I remember when Batman vs Superman came out, right? And they hinted at, Doomsday coming out. Doomsday books, right? First print Doomsday books. I think the highest I saw was like maybe $150, $150, it's like $200. Crazy prices. And then the movie came out, and then like, oh, it's not that good a movie. Let's go back to like $50, $25. Like, those price fluctuations are crazy, right? Yeah. And so usually those are on raw books, right? Raw books, of course, are your basic books.
Unslabbed.
Unslabbed books, right? And so it's always hard. There's always ways to haggle, or there's always ways to differentiate prices when it comes to raw books. You don't really have that much wiggle room when it comes to graded books, because one of the main issues, or one of the main topics at hand when you're dealing with raw books, is that you don't know the condition of the book, right?
Yeah.
You always have sellers that say, hey, it's a new mint copy, or this is a really good high grade copy. They'll never give you full on numbers, because they'll never give you like flat out like, oh, it's a 9.8, oh, it's a 9.6, 9.4, because they don't want to come. Because when you do send it in, if you do want to, they don't want they don't want you coming back saying, hey, that 9.8 supposed books you gave to me was 8.5, right?
Yeah,
I want my money back, or stuff like that, right? And that usually leaves bad taste in people's mouth. And so when you actually have CGC books, right? When you actually have encapsulated, graded, certified 9.8s, right? 9.8 Thanos 15, fourth cover, first appearance of the Fallen One, right? You can't differentiate prices.
How old is that book? Like a year old?
Like 2 years, I think.
Ooh, bro.
2 or 3.
Bro.
2 years.
35.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, that's crazy. 9.6, man. And so
I got a 9.8 too. Gwenpool, number 1, bro.
Hey, my dude. But yeah, like,
Should be a 10 because she is a 10.
This guy. But yeah, like it's harder to differentiate price when it comes to 9.8 because there's always going to be a set bare minimum for it. You can and most people they don't differentiate lower than that. Of course, it's you have your exceptions. People saying you're gonna have people that are gonna say, oh, I won't pay that much. I want lower. I want $20 lower or $30 lower. One, if you're really trying, get some money, you'll say, all right, cool, I'll do that. Or two, basically, pardon my French, fuck you, go somewhere else because you're free to do that as well, right? You're as a seller, you're more than free to do that as well. And so, raw books versus graded books, you have those differential price. And the biggest thing too is that the base value of a graded book will never fluctuate lower than the perceived value of a raw book, meaning that if I have a Hulk 181, of course, is first appearance of Wolverine, right?
Yeah.
I don't care if that book's a 1, if it's a graded 1. It will always be higher than a raw book.
Yeah, that's always been my intrigue on a CGC book. Because when early on, which is why I'm so happy sometimes to get a steal. Now I'll this particular one, and I'll use this as an example. Gwenpool number 1, first full appearance of first appearance in actually this is considered a first appearance and death of the character Cecil. Also a MODOK appearance. This was also the first issue of her first run. So it was not Gwenpool's first appearance. That is in Deadpool Secret Wars number 2, which is just the cover. And then I think she makes her actual first appearance in a Christmas special or Howard the Duck number 1.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I completely drew a blank what I was gonna say when that happens, man.
No, yeah, I'm saying, bro.
No, okay. There is a perceived kind of like value on a book that it's slabbed, and I knew the number thrown around was that you could have a book that's $20, raw. You slap CGC on it, you add 70 to it. That $20 raw wall book is going to go to almost $100. Not to devalue my girl Gwenpool, but I got a steal on this 9.8. I got one. I got one. Actually, I got 2 9.8s. I have one, and Chick has the other. I got them for like, I think $25 to $30. And I'm thinking to myself, looking back now, having done CGCs, you're basically paying for the all you're paying for is the service fee of, and we'll get into that part. But there is a perceived kind of as soon as it gets encapsulated into that plastic, it permanently goes to a higher price.
And when I do mean, let me just try to not backtrack, but let me just clarify, right? When I do mean with my example of the 181, right? If someone grades a raw book, right, as a 1 or 1.5, that's what I meant, right?
Yeah.
It will never match the price of a book that's actually a 1.5. I mean, like, where because there's gonna be examples like, oh, people are gonna say, oh, well, how come this book right now is selling? I'm actually on eBay right now. How come this Hulk 181 book that's selling right now, going for $1,527, and it has till Tuesday left? Why is that more expensive than this 1.5? That's $1,295. Well, because the one that's a raw is actually said to be a higher grade, right? Actually, in this case too, it's kind of clickbaity. This guy's saying a near perfect grade, which is questionable.
Nothing's near perfect.
As I'm saying, which questionable, especially for a book that came out in the I think was it 70s? Yeah, in 70s, right? Okay, but there are 9.8s of Hulk 181s. I'm not gonna say there isn't, but like when I said my earlier statement, a 1.5 is always CGC 1.5 Hulk 181 is always going to be higher than a perceived 1.5 raw one Hulk 181.
Yeah.
Right. You're never going to see a match price. You should never see a match price of a raw book to that of a graded book. I've seen it happen. I've seen people try to do it, right? And those people we should really try to not question, but more so like, yeah, you shouldn't be buying from that from those sellers anyway. Because I've seen some books right now, they're trying to do that whole crap right now, man. But yeah, those are just those are questionable.
And to piggyback on what JR is talking about, because some will say, well, you take a Hulk, let's say you have Raw, which I'll bow to you. You have a Raw 4.5 Action #1, Action Comics #1. And then you have a slabbed 4.5 Action Comics #1. Now, I use that to be a realistic number because, yes, there are some 9s. There are some people out there that have 9s. I've seen them.
Somewhere.
I've read about them. There are
holy grails of holy grails.
Maybe 5 in the world that are 9s. And more often than not, those 9s are the reprint, the second printing, which happened in the 1960s. I think it was like 1961.
Yeah.
They finally reprinted Action Comics #1. And there actually are some people that will say that that second printing, side note, that second printing is actually more valuable than the first print, which they're crazy.
No.
Because it was such a small run that they actually printed more of the first printing than they did the second printing. But anyway, side note. So if you have a 4.5 of Action Comics #1, raw in your hands, you just smell
that old musk.
You smell that old musty, smells like freedom, smells like post World War II. Actually, I think Superman came out in the 1930s. I think it was 36. Yeah. But anyways,
yeah,
it smells like victory. Anyways, so you have a pair of 4.5s. One's raw. You can actually open it up. You can touch it. You can smell it. And then you have a slabbed book. But you can open up the 4.5 and a professional grader. And I trust Javel. I trust Sid more than anything. JR and I are constantly learning about what to look for. The two of us are a far cry from professional graders. But we know you and I can walk into a store. We've done this where we help out, check, and when someone tries to sell books, we'll go like, we look for the spine, we look for tears, junk on the on the cover. Yeah. But you can open up a book and you can look at the defects on a book. Now, you're wondering, well, I can't just crack open this plastic bulletproof, that's not bulletproof, but this plastic case. You could, but you shouldn't. So let's just say you can't open this up and say, well, why is this a 9.8? Where's my 2 points that are out there? Well, if you look right here, there's a barcode. Every single CGC book, and I've got some older ones. Let me see if I found the other one. No, that's my CBSQ. Here we go. We got one right here. This is a little bit hard. This is an older slabbed book. This was Phoenix Joins the X-Men. This is X-Men, Uncanny X-Men number 110 from April of 1978. I haven't looked this up yet, but there is pretty young barcode right here.
Right, Gen 1 barcode from her.
I can
Gen 4.
I can scan this, or I could go to CGC's website and type in that serial number, and it will tell me the information about that book. And the reason I did that was, the reason I know that is because when I got my, well, actually, I'll take for example, I got this in a raffle. This is Hulk 340.
Yeah,
and
I was there at that raffle. I remember that.
Iconic cover.
Yeah.
Todd McFarlane cover. You got the blades out, the schnick with the Hulk there. and that by it's technically the Green Hulk, but it looks kind of gray Hulkish. Iconic cover. I was like, okay, it's a 9.4. This looks pretty clean. I mean, maybe a little wear and tear on the little wear on the staples.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, a bend on the corner, a little dog eared. And I'm looking at the top, maybe a little frill on the back cover. So what gave this a 9.4? You could actually scan the barcode on CGC's website and get the information about the book, and it will break it down about what is up with that book. So for anyone who's concerned about what JR just said about, well, wait a minute, a 4.5 slab, why is it more money than a 4.5 raw? When I can see literally what's wrong with the 4.5, how do I know? Going back to the quote, some people think the bias that CGC has, that how do we know that CGC just wanted to get their money, that they just send it in there and they go, it's a 4.5. There is a process. They'll break it down. They'll say, there are some things they'll say page number 17 has an ink mark on it, or the page is bent, or like JR said before, there's a slight tear, stuff like that. They go over with a fine tooth comb. They give it the white glove, and
Yeah. Which funny enough to actually kind of point this out too. It's I've seen a lot of resellers and certain people do this, right? When it comes to their own book, they're definitely like, oh, why is this so? Why is this why is this a 9.8? Why is this higher, right? But when it comes to other people's book, right, that they're trying to buy, oh yeah, that's definitely a 9.6. That's like, you should definitely sell that to me for cheaper. So it's very much fuels this I guess morality stance on these books, because we all want to have the most value for the things that we buy, that we partake in, right? Of course, understandably so, but that comes at a cost also to other people when you're trying to basically buy their shit, right? Everyone's trying to haggle, everyone's trying to get the lowest price possible. I understand that, man, but then coming from a point of like, hey, I'm trying to sell this stuff too, I get it, man. I get why CDC is really hard line in certain cases, right? Or most cases is really hard line in most cases. We're like, oh no, this is the reason why. This is it. If you want to know why, we have barcode on there. If you really want to know why and have that stuff sent to you, you can pay a little bit more. We'll send you everything, right? Javel's in there before. We're like he wants to know why his book didn't come in at 9.8. I think it came in like a 9. I think it was lower, like 9.2, right? It was a Deadpool book, hip hop variant that was like really like 1 out of 100, right?
Yeah.
You want to know why? He got the thing right. There was like a slight tear in like issue, like page 4 or 5. Some stuff happened to like ink blots, right? That's not supposed to be there. Okay, cool, understandably so. So, what was my point on that? So another reason why too is that there's way more, why you should definitely send your stuff in, is that there was way more risk when dealing with raw books.
Yeah.
Easily, right? Like I said before, like when I had the Hulk example, right? You can a 0.5 difference or a 0.5 difference, or even just a raw book difference, right? When you perceive it to be whatever grade, it can go from like $100-$200 easily, right?
Yeah.
Or in some cases, $1 to 1,000, like $100 to $1,000 difference. And the best way to kind of mitigate that or kind of just nip that at the bud is, just get it graded, dude. Get a slab, put a number on it that's been certified, and say, no, this. I'll at least get the baseline of the prices that I'm seeing. And but the crazy thing about CGC books now is that over time, usually when you collect stuff, they garner more value. And we've seen the last even like 2-3 years, man, a lot of these books, they've gone up in price like crazy.
Yeah.
They've gone up in value and price. Just again, the Hulk 181 5 years ago for like a 4.0 was like maybe $1,000 or so, right? Now I'm lucky to find it for like under 5. I think. Let me see real quick. No, not the 4.0. An 8. I'm lucky to find an 8 for under $4,000.
Jeez.
An 8.0. And Javel has 2, I think. Yeah. And yeah, that's just crazy to have. Just like one of the main reasons why you want to send your stuff to CGC is that one, these books are gonna like if you're collecting correctly. That's a big preface. If you're collecting correctly, these books should hold value over time. If not, they should also go up in value, right?
Yeah.
Your big books, your Hulk 181s, your Amazing Fantasy 15s. Amazing Fantasy will never go down. Your Knowles, all the other books, right? They're gonna go up eventually. And having a good price and having a good point number on there is going to signify that, hey, this was certified, this was valued at this much, or this was given this condition price, and it's never going to deviate. Unless, of course, you crack it open, have some sign or whatever have you, right? So I think, you have any other questions about that, bro?
And you brought up a good point real quick. And I'm on CGC's website. And if you need more information about CGC, I'll throw those out there too. And we'll bring it up at the end of the show too. Is you can go to cgccomics.com. I should have thrown this out there too. Not all books are going to have the greater notes available on the website. So I should preface it. I think it is something you can pay for, or the original purchaser can pay for. Because I'm on the website right now. I'll show you right now what it looks like here. Let me bring it back up. Where did the website go?
Yeah, I'm trying to find more stuff.
Where'd it go? So bring up Zoom, share screen, website, and share. So for those of you who are watching the YouTube stream, and I'll verbalize it for those of you listening to on our audio podcast. I'm on cgccomics.com. You go to resources, go to verify CGC certification. This will also help people with peace of mind if they are worried about getting a fake book. It has happened. I've seen it. I've nearly been a victim of it, where people will try to pass off a fake CGC book. You can type in the code right here for those of you seeing the screen, or go to resources and go to the main screen. But this is the Kevin Eastman book. There's my number right there. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, number 5, 1985, issue year 95, Mirage Studios, 9.6, white. Grade date was on July 19th. Now, it should be noted, this will help out a little bit with JR's notes a little bit later. This book was signed on June 16th of 2019. Right there, grade date was on July 19th. It took them 4 weeks. They took possession of it in Vegas on that day, on July 16th. I'm sorry, on June 16th. They actually shipped it out from Las Vegas to Florida. Didn't even take it back with them. They shipped it from Las Vegas. I got a tracking number. I think it was FedEx. And it was shipped. Yeah. It was shipped out on. I got the signature on the last day of the con, and it was shipped out the next day from Las Vegas to Florida. So it takes 3 days first class to go cross country, especially when you're going from a major metropolitan area like Las Vegas. So it took them 4 weeks to get that book graded, or until they got to that book to be graded. And then it gives all the information. None available for the grader notes. It does tell you, this is kind of cool though, total graded 13. 13 books have been graded for this exact issue. And this right here, this is going back to where JR was talking about. There is your grading system. 0.5, 1, 1.5, 1.8, 2.0, 2.5, 3.0. So that tells you there's the grading scale. So it does kind of jump around in the lower numbers. But the lowest graded CGC out there for this book is a Fine Plus, 6.5, 3 of them. There have been 115 near mints. That means some people took care of some stuff. 13 of them are signature series. Nothing above, nothing in the perfect, the mint
Yeah.
realm.
Yeah. Which you probably won't see, because
No.
a majority of the time too, for the small segue, not small segue, more so just on a note for 9.9s and 10s, is that they literally got to come literally off the press and into somebody who's gonna CGC it and then slap it. Like, majority of the time when you're not gonna find it's rare. I'm not gonna say it, I'm saying you're not, but like it's incredibly rare for somebody to have a 10 or a 9.9 or a 10 that's sitting in their box. It's impossible. It's nearly impossible.
Because you've added.
Yeah, like if there's weight on the book, right, that probably is gonna lose some sort of creasing. If in somebody's hands already, like I'm pretty sure 9.9s like this one.
Hold on, I minimize it real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
9.9s like this one, even though this is from CBCS, right? Ultimate Spider-Man 160, the Caseta variant. It's like a 1/100 variant. Right.
And by the way, I'm not trying to burst JR's bubble, and JR will be the first to admit to.
Mhm.
If you are using CGC as a scale to determine the quality of a book, a 9.9 that he just showed you, there's a very good chance that CGC would come back at a 90.
Yeah.
Yeah,
most like.
But you have to with CBCS and especially the other one was PGX.
Yeah.
PGX. If you get a 9.9 from PGX, assume that book's a 9.
Yeah.
They really weight their books.
Yeah. It's like the 9.9s and 10s, they literally got to come off. When they say off the press, it literally got to come off the press. Yeah. Like literally just got done, signed it. They put it in some type of encapsulation form, and then like, all right, cool, we'll send it off to whatever now. And so it's 9.9s and 10s are rare for a reason. Should be rare for a reason. And so going into that, unless you had a point, dude.
No, and to go piggyback on what JR just said, one more thing about the hot off the press is he's right. You literally, and it does happen. There are 10s out there. Mm-hmm. You have one. You were probably mere feet away from a 10.0, a legit CGC 10.0. Mm-hmm. And I'll use J. Scott Campbell, for example. J. Scott Campbell has in his store the ability to buy off the rack. Yep. I mean, you could of multiple copies of, like, say, I think currently right now he's doing Birds of Prey. He just put Birds of Prey CGC books into a store. The highest grade CGC book that he has in his store is a 9.8. Oh, and he literally is having CGC go grab it off the press and take possession of it. And what's really unfortunate is one of two things. When they do something like that, the person who is handling it from CGC, they know how to handle it. But unfortunately, it doesn't get to the guy grading it for a couple of weeks. So it could have been a 10.0 as he holds it in his hand. Yeah. You know, he's carefully putting it over into the black briefcase and air sails it tight as it's being, encapsulated in, cryogen or whatever, escorted to Pensacola, Florida, wherever the thing is. But you can still damage it. But J. Scott Campbell doesn't even have a 10 in his store.
He's had 9.9s. He's had 9.9s. I've seen those sell out really, really quick though, and it's just more so that these individuals that have 9.9s, they literally come off the shelves. It literally comes off the press. Yes. So those are rare to find, and of course, at most times too, they'll be priced way higher than 9.8s, right? Especially if it's like a full on, like, mainline book. I have seen 9s and 10s from like offbeat comics, like like independent comics where it's it's a Vampirella, or it's a Vampirella, or it's something that Jamie Tindall has been doing, right? That's third party or independent, right? So in those cases, yeah, you'll see some of them, but like it's hard. You'll be hard pressed to find any Amazing Spider-Man in 9.9s or 10s.
Yeah.
So that's it. Okay, so it comes to my third bullet point. I don't, man, it's crazy going a little bit of time, but like I'll try to run through this.
We'll get through. Yeah.
Yeah. What should you send to CGC? What to send to CGC? Now, this point or this my first point was actually given to me by Javel, where he said that if this over basically if the raw comic book that you have should be if it's valued over if it's valued at $100 or over $100, send it in. Just send it in. Send it in. And that's usually a good thing to have. I think I got a lot of books that are way over $100 that I'm going to send in. And
I have two that are being graded as we speak.
Oh yeah, and those one of them you dropped. I'm never gonna let you.
Yeah, I hope they don't watch. This one time, I hope that CGC doesn't want to watch our podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, like for me too, it also depends on like the how hot the title's doing right now, right? So right now Venom's doing incredibly well, right? This first appearance of Dylan Brock or Dylan. I forget what's Dylan Brock. And so, that's I think $70 book, but I'm gonna send it in. Thor 5 or Thor 5 second print. Even though these are like $30-$40, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna still send it in. Another good note too is that you always send first appearances of long standing characters to CDC. Talking about Hulk 181, Wolverine, X-Men. You should always send in your first appearance of X-Men. Giant size X-Men. You should send in
Giant size X-Men annual number 1. That's the new team. That's the new team.
Yeah, it has first appearance. It has a bunch of first appearances in there too, and appearance from Wolverine as well. Venom, Spider-Man 300. Of course, sent in first appearance of Null, which I do have here somewhere, but then I do. I'll find it eventually. First appearance of Null, first and third print. You should send in, of course, Walking Dead 1, first appearance Rick Grimes, Punchline. That the book's gonna do really hot, right? It's doing really hot right now too, and as well as like issues that have pivotal arcs in it. Your Infinity Gauntlets, Phoenix Saga.
Yeah.
Batman Hush. The pivotal covers of of Batman on that looking over that perch into Gotham. Send that in. Pretty sure you have one.
Yeah, and I kind of.
You want to get into it or no?
Well, I have the book. I'm trying to find it real quick.
Oh yeah, but okay. Once you find that, like Lethal Protector, Wolverine run that was done by McFarlane, stuff like that. Third point in this bullet point is book rarity. Actually, if you try to find it real quick, dude, try to find your book, or if you want to check over it, I'm gonna try to pull out some books right now.
So the book that JR is talking about, it is a famous Dave Johnson cover book, and it's not wanting me to. I gotta get into here, share screen. I do have this book. I think this is the one he's talking about. Iconic modern. Is this the one you're talking about, JR?
No, not like the old one from Hush. The Hush.
Hush series. I just have the one where it's the Jim Lee cover where he's doing the kick.
The second print of that one is him where like it's him on a perch.
Oh yeah, I don't have that one. I just have the kick.
Yeah,
but I do have this one. These are the kind of books that, but I don't know how much time and money it would have cost me to do it. I have this book that you're seeing on the screen right now. Like I said, it's a Tom King book. And it's a Dave Johnson cover. The cool story about it is that Dave Johnson drew this while looking out the apartment of one of his really good friends in New York City, and just started sketching it. They were going out to dinner, and his buddy was getting ready or whatnot, and so he just went out onto the patio and started looking out on the street, and he sketched this picture right here. He just sketched, and then he decided, I wonder if I add Batman to it. And that's what happened. And actually, take it back. he drew it and it was in his portfolio, and I think, I don't know if it was Tom King or someone saw it and said, dude, that'd make a badass cover. He goes, no. And he goes, we'll add Batman to it. He added Batman to it. He's like, yeah, you're right. It's badass cover. I have this signed by Tom King. I have this book signed by Dave Johnson, who, by the way, super cool guy. And I got a bam. Well, I'll take that back. The Tom King signature was a tough one. I had to call in a favor to a friend of mine that works for comicsketchart.com, and she was able to get Tom King to sign that book as well as other ones. And I think I also got Alex Sinclair. No, Sinclair, it was Tom King and somebody else. I got basically got signed behind the scenes. So that was kind of I would not have been able to get that CGC, but I've got a really cool book that's got about 10 signatures on it. It's an Action Comics 1000, but I've got about 10 or 12 creators' signatures on it, and that would have been kind of cool to have a CGC slabbed or whatever. But yeah. The book that JR was talking about, yeah, it was a second printing of Batman number 608, I think.
I think so. Yeah, it's basically it's in the middle of the Hush run, and it's the second print cover. Like you'll always see if there's that very pivotal cover of Superman, right, where he's on top of a perch as well. I think he's on top of the Day of the Planet building, right? Yeah. He's like his legs up, right, and like his cape is flowing in the background. You got that his chest is out, right? Yeah. And the opposite side is of course Batman looking the opposite way or looking into the same direction. And so they're both covers made by Jim Lee. And that's a good cover to have per se. That's good cover to send in CGC. Now, of course, to kind of go into my second point in this bullet point is a book rarity. Yeah. So that one, the previous one, I said that's a good one to have. How many copies of the book you want to send in are out there, right? Of course, even though we showed you a couple examples of like books that are like have a lot of covers out there. There's some books specifically in today's modern day that are pretty low run in comparison, man. Like, even though I'm going to send in, where's my thing at?
And it was Batman 608. Yeah. I just have the cover A, which is it is a Jim Lee cover. I did not get it signed. And it is chapter 1 of the Hush saga.
Book rarity is definitely a good one where like let's say this is actually a twofer. Nix 3 9.8. This is by CBS. This is by CBCS. It's the first appearance of Laura Kinney X-23.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. At the same time,
it's a cool cover.
Yeah. At the same time, it's a low print run because like no one bought Nix, right? This is the third book out of a 4-issue run, and mostly the time people are gonna buy your first prints, right? Your first issues, and it'll taper off after that. And so the third print was actually pretty low, in comparison to the time. It was actually a low run. Another good example. You're gonna hate me for this one, man.
Hold on. Sorry, I was looking at something.
Yeah. You're gonna hate me for this one. This one right here is Howard the Duck 1.
Oh, you have the color one?
I told you.
You dick.
I told you, man.
Light off.
Howard Duck 1. Even though it's number 1, a 1 out of 100 variant. It's actually pretty rare, man.
I'm missing two. If I had that book, I'd be willing to pull the trigger on the overpriced West Coast Avengers that's on eBay, and I would be done with my Gwenpool collection.
Oh man,
I'm still pissed off at that guy on eBay. He's been sitting on it for 2 years since it came out, and he's has it listed for $70. The street value on the book is no more than 30. But
no, yeah, I was looking at the same guy. But yeah, that's a whole different rant we could have.
I won't call him out because I don't want to keep it negative. I want to keep it positive. We want to shout out guys like
eBay,
on eBay and stuff like that, like Rob Matrix and whatnot. But
another good print run too to have is of course like specifically nowadays, right, is like second and third prints. It's pretty crazy because they're lower print runs, right? Venom 3.
I will say this too, to kind of make it easy. Oh, nice. To kind of make it easy on people that go like me, who were afraid to pull the trigger on CGC, because I love having the book. I love having the raw book. I've always wanted Uncanny X-Men number 180. Uncanny X-Men number 141. Days of Future Past Part 1. Iconic cover. I have 2 copies. I'm probably going to send one in CGC. I have one that's signed. I have one that's unsigned. I'm obviously going to send in the unsigned book, because the other one, and I know people that were there that witnessed that it legitimately was Chris Claremont that signed it, but like JR said before, I ended up getting the green sticker. Another book, this example of books that you should get signed. I have duplicates of book number 3 of The Death in the Family. Of course, this is the story of is Dick Grayson or Jason Todd?
Jason Todd's death.
Jason Todd's death. And does the death happen in issue 2? And because it says here, they find the body in issue number 3. So that is the death. Is that considered to be the death issue?
I think the issue 3 is it. I thought it was later in the run too, though. But yeah, it should be issue 3, because issue 2 was when they had the phone in. Do you want Jason to live or die? Type of thing, and then they did it the next issue.
Yeah, so obviously they're a very iconic cover of Jason Todd, the second. I think it was the second Robin.
Yep, second Robin.
Cover artist Mike Mignola. I think he did all 4 covers, and I just happen to have duplicates of issue 3 and issue 4, and I'm almost positive probably in the next year or so I will probably be sending the 2 of those in, and I'm probably going to send in my Uncanny X-Men number 141. I think I've duplicates of 141 and 142. So.
Yeah, it's always a good thing to have, like, if you're a collector, it's always good to have duplicates of anything anyway. So so at this point, of course, guys, Brooke Verdi, if the character on the cover, right, like Howard the Duck, is an offbeat character, first time is Gwenpool. If it's an independent comic, which I do have as well, right, God Country 1. It's gonna be they're trying to make this into a movie, right? This is God Country 1. This is one of the first books that Donny Cates has done, and so it's actually a pretty rare book now.
Now, it should be noted too, just going to throw this out there, and the reason why JR is bringing these up, because you can get a hold of a really good CGC book. And so there might be original owners out there and this is where you crack open them long boxes that you've been sitting on and whatnot. A lot of what gets graded, a lot of what gets bought has unfortunately little to no merit on the quality of the writing. And it's a lot more of the artwork cover.
Yeah.
And a first appearance. I'll use, for example, Incredible Hulk 181. Have you ever read that book?
Yeah, I have.
It's hot garbage.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's terrible. New Mutants number 1. I'm sorry, New Mutants number 98. First appearance of Deadpool. First off, Rob Liefeld, co-creator of Deadpool, you suck at drawing Deadpool. I'm sorry, I do not like the Rob Liefeld Deadpool. You can say that I'm like, oh, you're just a fanboy growing up on the movie. No, I knew of Deadpool. I saw him in the animated series. I know he kind of made a couple cameos, like in Spider-Man, X-Men, and stuff like that. But I don't like the Rob Liefeld Deadpool. I've just recently, I think just as early as like a week ago, I read New Mutants number 98. It's god awful. So don't go in, if you're now a buyer of a book, just know you're buying the cover. Strictly buying the cover, and the fact that in there is in there is the first appearance.
Appearance of Deadpool. It's the same. Like you're not buying, manuscripts of great philosophical books here. It's comic books. Granted, some of them are really good coverage, right? I'm thinking of like first appearance of Nightwing, right? Nightwing suit where it's the Judas Contract, right? Stuff like that. Of course, you're gonna have great ones. Touch series run.
You're paying for the cover.
You're paying that, right, Hulk? You're paying for the cover. You're paying for the cover is a pivotal issue, right? Not pivotal issue, but it's a pivotal cover look.
Yeah.
But majority of the time, you're not paying for the content of the comics, even though there might be great ones there too.
Sidebar here. This belongs to my wife. This is a Amazing Spider-Man number 800. It's a Virgin variant.
500.
This is an Alex Ross cover.
Mm-hmm.
This is good writing. Stan Slott doing Spider-Man. It's like Ta-Nehisi Coates doing Black Panther. So here's Dan Slott doing. This is a key issue. Spoiler alert: Death of Flash Thompson. And which was funny because when people said what's going to happen in issue number 800? There's going to be a big. I guess they spoiled it. So there's going to be a big death. Like, oh, great, they're going to kill Peter Parker again. No, they killed his arch enemy. But in that particular case, good writing, key issue with a death of, and cool cover art. And it's a Virgin variant too. So it's not just the Alex Ross cover, it's a Virgin variant. And for those of you who don't know what a Virgin variant is, and again, this is for the YouTube viewers to watch, no badging. Usually would have the Marvel logo here, issue number here, barcode somewhere down here, some wham, bam, whatever. There'd be other stuff.
Title covers.
So, you've seen a comic book, what it looks like. A Virgin variant, nothing on it, but the artwork is a masterpiece.
Yep.
But that's what it is and whatnot. So, the last bullet point here that you have, and then we'll get to wrapping this things up in our flexible, is the cost.
Yep.
Have to be if you're sending it yourself, you have to be a member. I technically am a member. I think I paid my dues once. I did not renew. So it is $25 per year.
The minimum, the bare bones.
Which is, if you go to, which is fine. You pay that $25 if you have a number. I have a number. I don't think the number goes away. I just logged in. Let me see. I logged into CGC, my CGC, my account. I won't put this on the screen. Okay. I still have my customer number.
Okay.
So if I wanted to grade something, if I wanted to send something for grading, I'm paying that $25.
Yeah. And it's a yearly fee. And you could just basically just send CGC from your own house.
Yeah.
From your own convenience, your own house, right? And there'll be forms and everything. You gotta write down. Now the pricing is definitely definitely kind of weird, right? But before that, we'll get into that later. Before that, you could also send your comics right into an authorized comic dealer, basically, a comic book shop that has a
CGC account.
Yeah, CGC account, right? And most of the time, those accounts from those dealers, right? They're probably on a higher tier than let's say just your average consumer, right? We have a couple of CGC sellers here in the Valley. One big one in particular that I always go to is of course Comic Asylum. Now, granted, those come with different costs, right? Because one, you're sending your book in, which will be, let's say, a modern book, Miles Morales, hip hop variant is gonna be it's a modern book, so it's $25, right? Or $20 usually, right? But they got add on shipping, so maybe $27, right?
Yeah.
But also they might add in some other stuff, so maybe $32, $35, right? The other unforeseen costs because they usually send in big chunks, right? They want to send a lot into it, and then you also got probably maybe do some outside costs how good is the book? Is this book worth selling in? Yeah. I think other people are doing it too. That hey, if you want me to look at your book to see if it's actually you want to send it in, that's maybe like $5, $10 or so, right? See if it's to see if it's like decent enough to send in. So that's a good thing too. No, that's the cost. That's the cost, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the actual cost for slabbing, books. Like I said before, modern books from 1975 to now is about $20 to $27. It depends. It's kind of weird.
And I'm trying to remember what mine was. Um, my
Oh, your
Amazing Spider-Man number 162, I believe it is.
yeah, it's the first appearance of
Punisher.
but I think like six. That was in '60s. It was like '70s still too. It
It
yours
is
one was
considered to be. It was considered to be a Bronze Age.
yeah yours particularly right. Even though they're just before the modern age. It depends also now. Like I've had
129. Sorry,
129. Yeah.
129. And I missed the cutoff. JR has his modern books are 1975 to current. I got mine. Or when the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, number 129.
Yeah.
Is a February of 1974.
74. So that's actually really close. Sometimes too, right? Specifically when you're dealing with older books, sometimes they'll go from like $30 to $70.
Yeah.
Also, there's those very few cases where like if the market value of particularly your book, if it's like way more than $1,000, sometimes they'll add like a 15%, or no, I think either 3%. I think it is, or some percentage in there, where they're gonna say that, hey, we're gonna charge you the value, the like 3%, like like a small percentage of your perceived value of your book, because if it's worth over $1,000 that they're sending back to you, they're gonna probably you want to have they're probably gonna put like, oh, we want a handwritten signature, we want to add some security, because you're not expecting $1,000 and $2,000 book coming back to you in just a regular comic book mailer. You're not expecting that. You expecting, if you send in your Hulk 181s, you expect someone to be at the door and like, oh, you're here, cool, sign this form, here's your book, rather than leaving at the front door.
Yeah.
You want that.
And that's why JR would recommend going through an authorized reseller. I do recommend going through Chick and Javel, not just because, there's no financial gain here.
They're one of the only ones. They're one of the only ones that actually sends books out there, and of course, they have their own pricing. They have their own pricing guide. You have to basically, hey, we're in pandemic.
I will give this shameless shill for Comics Island. There was someone who came in the store that wanted to get some books graded.
Okay.
And they were going to get a pull list anyways. But Chick and Javel really and truly won't send books off for grading unless you're a pull list member. I think that, and I won't get into specifics, but let's just say they take care of their own.
Yeah.
JR and I are in good standing. We've never left him hanging. Maybe JR, because JR has a huge pull list, lets his box hang out for about 6 weeks sometimes. But we're responsible, and we'll say, hey, you know what? Times are tough right now. I have every intention of paying for that. Blah, blah, blah. So that's just side note. I think it is. And I told someone this last Wednesday. They were thinking about getting a pull list, and Chick was, oh my gosh, I completely drew a blank on the new girl's name.
Oh, yeah,
Aaliyah.
Aaliyah, yeah.
Aaliyah. Hi, Aaliyah. I know you're watching. Sorry, I completely drew a blank on your name. I apologize. Chick and Aaliyah were super busy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kevin, can you explain to this new person with the benefits of a pull list?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I told her about, obviously you can get discounts, you can get access to special events. And like special events, I said, well, typically in non-pandemic era, we not in the coronavirus, we do movie screens, and we have raffles, and we have. And I said, we have parties, and she's like, what parties? And I said, yeah, we have parties. And I said, the biggest thing too is, and I just talked to Chick about this, and they were getting their first batch of of CGCs delivered on Monday. So tomorrow.
Yeah.
They were getting them tomorrow. And I said, this is an authorized CGC retail location.
Yep.
And I said, over a period of time, Chick has a set price plan, and they're very strict about it because they're being charged what they're being charged.
Yeah.
There will come over a period of time, Chick and Javelle are going to take care of you because you take care of them by adding a pull list, by being a consistent member. So for those of you looking to collect comic books, go out there, get a pull list, find something you like to read, and then get to know people like us, follow our podcast, stuff like that. And we'll give you information about what to collect and whatnot. But if you've got some stuff lying in the attic that you've wanted to get graded, and you're afraid to do it yourself for fear of getting ripped off, go see a guy like Javelle, or go see Chick, and get taken care of. And while you're at it, start a pull list, because you're going to see some benefits out of it. I still paid. I'm not going to say what I paid. I paid close to these numbers. Yeah, it may have been a discount, but these are pretty accurate numbers, and only because, like I said, Jared pointed out, one of the books was considered to be a Bronze Age, and I missed the cutoff by 11 months. But it's gonna be worth it. And that book in itself, right now, raw, is 3 digits. Yeah, it was a 75-cent book.
There you go. So that's one of the costs too. Like, if you want to avoid all that stuff anyway, but like Transcend Transcend yourself, you can always go to a convention, right? And if CGC is there at the convention, which mostly they are in most major conventions, right? Your Comic-Cons, your WinterCon, your whatever have you, right? And so they'll always be there. You can always go to them, have your book, and have your stack of books there, and pay whatever they're paying, whatever they're pricing, right? Because you're always gonna pay for shipping. You're always gonna pay for the value of the book, right? Let's say it's modern, it's gonna be $25-$27, period, right? We add shipping or whatever they want to price that now. I think it might be higher, it might be lower. And then you're also gonna pay the other. You're gonna pay return shipping, and then you're also gonna pay like for other small things too. Like, let's say if your book isn't a good, it is like if your book is like 0.2 digits away from being 9.8, right? And then you want to get it. They have an option there for you where you can get it cleaned and pressed. That's an extra $10. Clean and press, of course. They'll go to a presser, or they'll take your comic book. They'll take your comic. They'll go to a professional presser where they'll professionally flatten, and I guess you can say they steam it as well, and it'll try to make your book as flat as possible, right?
Yeah, to get all the imperfections out. Like Jay and I talked about, one of the things that is so difficult in this quick, what's the word I'm looking for? Instant gratification era, is that everything is shipped, UPS, FedEx, DHL, whatever, and people don't know what's in these boxes. You can slap "do not bend," "fragile," whatever on there all day long, and they're not going to pay attention to it.
Yeah,
I don't know how many new Comic Book Wednesdays have been ruined because Diamond Distributors or UPS I'm not going to try to shade anybody, have delivered books with a
bent, out of shape thing.
The easiest way to damage a book is how they have them staggered. And when you have a bunch of raw books stacked, and this is going to go along, I'm going to make a point by what JR is talking about with pressing it, because this could be an easy way to get a book for cheap. Is if you get to know a comic book store owner that has a bunch of books that could end up being a key issue, and they have damaged books, they 9 times out of 10 have already gotten credit back from Diamond.
Yeah.
And are going to very rarely is Diamond going to ask for those damaged books back.
Yeah.
Because that's what they ask. Take a picture. They're going to take a picture. The easiest way to damage a book is how they stack them. They have them staggered, like this. You can see this is the top of the book, and they have them staggered like this and like this, and they stagger them. They'll do 5 or 6 at a time. And though this book comes, you can tell right there, because it's a magazine style, it comes with this crease. But imagine this is a standard comic book issue. The easiest damage on a book is a bend right here along the spine, where the other side of the book, when it was laying down like this, pressed into it because you had that weight of 6, 10, 12, whatever issues pushing in, and they didn't stack it. They just didn't stack it right.
Yeah.
That's an easy way to damage a book.
Yeah.
You go to a store, you're like, screw it, I want to have it, I need that book, blah blah blah, I can't wait. What JR is talking about, and there was on the, I think it may have been on the Amazing 129, there was ever so slightly an indentation similar to that.
Before you even do that, bro, I'm just saying you just have to struggle with that. I saw the tape. That's another way you can screw up your book too. Is that if you don't,
it's a Joker Harley Criminal Sanity #1.
Still though,
this is not going to resell. I bought it because it's a cool cover. Yes, what you're talking about, I'll show you. This is a rookie mistake.
But anyways, yeah, in that comparison, yeah,
this is what JR is talking about. Yeah. It drives them nuts. Half the time I do it on purpose just to piss them off.
But anyways, yeah. So as Kevin was saying, imperfections happen regardless. It's gonna happen. So what you want to do sometimes, if you know for a fact, right, that your book, this one, a 9.8 is valued over $1,000. This right here.
I think I had a chance of getting that book and I passed.
You should have got it.
The hip hop variants though. The hip hop variants, and we could do a whole. We got to do an episode on the hip hops because they are blowing up right now.
Absolutely, I knew it was a matter of time. I knew it was a matter of time to do it, right?
But
yeah, to stay on point. Sometimes it's always good to add that extra $10, $15 or so to kind of just give yourself a good slight edge and say, hey, I want to get the best possible points I can get on a book. So I did it a couple of times already, and it made mine. If it wasn't 9.8, it came back 9.8.
Yeah,
there you go. So that's the thing. That's when the cost. I think I had another point here too. I just figured out where that point is.
I'm curious to see what happens because on both of them, I have them being pressed. However, in this particular case, because of the age of the book, my Amazing 129, it was going to be a just slightly different price to have it cleaned. So it was, yes, typically, like JR said, they'll press and clean are kind of bundled together.
Yeah.
In this particular case, I'm just paying for the press. I'm not doing the cleaning. There was only one imperfection that I saw that could have taken, it could have been beneficial, whatever the word I'm looking for.
Beneficial, yeah.
That's right. It's been a long day. For those who don't know, we're recording this at night on Sunday nights, late night. To me, it was not a benefit in having it cleaned up. It was only one slight spot. I know it could probably cost me 1/10 of a point, cost me a 1/2 point, but I think that still doing the press, and like JR said too, is with the steaming that they do. It's like a steam press, almost kind of like how they iron, like they do like a dry clean on a shirt.
Getting out those wrinkles.
Is that sometimes it can lift. The steam can lift that imperfection out of the book and evaporate. It could have been someone hit it with a pencil or an ink pen, and it can lift it out of there. Just like when you steam clean, when you dry clean clothes, they can lift the stains out of there. So Chick told me, you take the chance of possibly letting that happen, but don't take my word for it. Like, if you're going to want to get it clean, get it cleaned.
Yeah. So also a good point. The reason why, why you should get it, cleaned out or get it clean and get it pressed is that when I said before, my last point, a point different. A point five difference could be a difference between a couple hundred to a couple $1,000
In
so,
certain books, yes.
in certain books. Like I think Javel or I think TPJ, one of our guys right back in the come back to Comic Con, they had a chance to press their books, right, and literally it was just a point below it being worth a 9.8 at the time, and the scale also, I didn't go over the scaling levels, right? Usually goes from like 9.6 is usually the half the price of a 9.8.
Yeah.
Usually. Sometimes it differentiates now, but like, let's say if your book costs $480 for 9.6, double that should be a 9.8. So we're talking about those type of prices, guys. So other than that, I think those are most. I'm pretty sure I missed a couple points anyway, but those are the most of the major points that I put up, like book rarity, the cost, why you should send it, why you should. Of course, there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't send it. Sometimes you're just there to collect for yourself. Sometimes you're just there to just like sometimes. Oh, here's a good one. If you're a reseller anyway, majority of the time the reason why people at conventions, right, when they say they hate CGC stuff, I love raw books because I just want to feel it, right? They're just trying to sell you their book. Period.
Yeah.
They're just gonna sell it. That's it. Like, and that's, hey, more power to them, man. That's completely fine. People are there to just sell. People are there in conventions to sell books, right? Majority of the time, they'll sell way more raw books than they ever will sell CGCs.
I will tell folks this, having spent many hours, especially with this man over here, flipping long boxes at Comic Cons. You can find diamonds. Hence, I use for example. And this one JR did not find. This one my wife found. This is probably one of my prized possessions. It's not a number one. It's pretty close. It's a number 5. Volume 1, TMNT from 1985. I found this one and issue number 6 back to back. We went back the next day, found the exact same book, issue number 5, for relatively the same price. He had it personally graded at about a 0.5%, like a half a point more. And we talked to the guy and said, hey, we bought a lot of books from you this weekend, and he sold it to my wife for the same price. And the reason I wanted 2 copies was I knew I wanted to get one signed and graded by Kevin Eastman. And I knew in my head, if I had 2 copies, the left brain of me can say, hey, I've got the raw version. I can go there. I can open it up. Like I said, I can smell it. I can touch it. I can feel it. And then I can have the graded one as kind of a wall book. If you have a chance, you're flipping long boxes and you see multiples of a book, and you're like, and you even think about like, hey, this would be a really good book to get graded. Or if you're thinking about, this would be a really cool book to get signed, grab both books. I will always tell collectors, if it's a key issue, and even if it's a slight key issue, but if it's a key book and there are multiples there and you can afford it, grab them both.
Yeah.
Look at JR. Now me, I know JR has his finger on the pulse. He has his finger on the pulse of more of the modern stuff because he knows what's, like, especially for the independents. He knows to get a God Country. He knows to get a Rednecks. He knows to get a Saga. He knows to get this. I know to grab, he knows some Marvel and DC. I know to grab a Uncanny 141, 142. I know to grab an Uncanny like 136 through 139. Actually, you want to get all that good stuff. I mean, it's some great Claremont stuff. I know to get a Superman 75. I know to get a Detective, what was it, or Batman, whatever it was, like 263, whatever for Death Up. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. Anyways, the point I'm saying is like if you have a chance to grab duplicates because there is that left right brain going, God, I want that raw book, but I want to get a CGC. Grab them both, slab one of them, and keep the other one. And that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, you'll never know what gets hot. And on that same topic too, like 2 books that I got from the like 2 WinterCons ago, I got raw actually. X-Men 23. This is X-Men 21, the X-Men Blue 21. It's the Hans variant. I think went for 50 variant. It's going for like $300 right now. And then the big one too, biggest freaking get that I didn't know I didn't get. Second print of Anti-Venom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I got this one. Was like, I think I went to this small little shop, and agent owned, and I think he had this specific copy for like $130, $120, right? Or maybe no, $100, right? I asked him like, hey, can you go a little bit lower? He said, all right, cool, $80. I got it for $80. Literally, the next WinterCon, this same copy, it blew up, $200. And I got 9.8 from the same guy, 9.8. This right here is like $800 right now, dude. I think some crazy price. And you just might never know, man. You might never know what you'll get for raw books. And that's what I mean. Differentiate. It's crazy, dude. I got this book for $80. I'm never gonna sell it for $80.
No.
I'm never gonna sell it for $80. I'm gonna sell it. What's gonna actually I don't. If I need money, I'm probably gonna sell it. But yeah, that's most of us.
That's supposed to be. And you know what, guys? Too on the production side, I know that one of the things that's been requested is for us to show off our interview skills. We are efforting some guests. We are working on some things. A little lingo there in the radio business. Efforting means we have invitations out. I think one of the things that would be cool down the road, maybe we'll do this when the con season comes back around next year, is we will get a CGC person on the phone, because I know that they're willing. That's the cool thing about it's not like some secret society. They will talk to you about the process. They want people to be educated.
Yeah.
If you do need a little education on the CGC process, I do highly recommend, for those of you who are Amazon Prime, and again, this is we're not paid by Amazon or anything, go on over to Amazon Prime. There is the Comic Book Men series. It's kind of fun and hokey, but there's an episode, I think it's like in season 4 or 5, where they have a kid who's not into comic books, but he inherits a comic collection from like his grandfather or something like that. And he wants to go to school, and he wants to go to college. And so he wants to sell these books, and the owners are looking at it going, bro, 2 things. Number one, you got to get these books graded, because you have no idea what you're dealing with. This guy goes, I could take you for everything you have here, and you'd be blindsided. And he goes, get yourself an Overstreet price guide. If you're really, really wanting to be tight on what you have, get an Overstreet price guide. Key Collector is a great over-the-counter, easy access app. Their prices can be plus or minus 10 or $20 sometimes, but it's a good entry level. Overstreet is a good.
Overstreet too is kind of entry level. A couple of is entry level as well. For me particularly, I actually go to gocollect.com.
Yes, I couldn't remember. Thank you. I could not remember the other one.
They mainly do CGC stuff, right? And so it's actually free to everybody. If you want to, there is a paid subscription in there where you'll get access to way more stuff involved, but then they'll show you what the recent, how certain books are on there, right? What's hot, what's new, what's hot and modern, what's hot in, gold age and copper age, copper and silver age, right? They'll show you the last, they'll show you how many of a certain book has sold of that, distinct 9.8 or 9.6 or that rating. And so those are cool. So I go with that one specifically because I tend to go market value type of thing. And market value here is probably like eBay. If you want to go full on market value of like higher end books, you go to these crazy auction houses to do that.
Yeah. But also to point out, gocollect.com and we'll put a bow on this for the CGC side. I'm almost positive CLZ Comics, CLZ Comics Tech uses in their subscription tier.
Yep.
They use GoCollect.com. It does cost money. But there's benefits to it.
Yeah.
And they will import the information from GoCollect.com into your CLZ app so that your collection is constantly up to date.
Yep.
Like I said, personally, because it's free, I'm a cheapskate. Call me what I am.
Yeah.
I still use I still use Key Collector, but I also use because Key Collector, comics can be like the stock market. They can go up and down. I'll use, for example, a Silk #1 hip hop variant. Was a $20 wall book 3 or 4 months ago. It's now a $50 wall book.
Yep.
On the flip, I have a Thor #1, first appearance of Jane Foster as Thor, and it was at Comic-Con last summer. Overnight, it went from being a $5 key to a $75 wall book.
Yeah.
And was going like this. It's kind of come down a little bit. Yeah. It's gonna go back up when Thor: Love and Thunder come out, but I'm just saying it's hit or miss. But it could also be that you could go out there and sell that book and get $75 for it.
Yeah.
So
on the inverse too, actually, for it's always good to have those like on the fly, like definitely on market type of things, because like just recently to oppose that, not oppose the view, but like, you know, as another example, first appearance of Robin King, right? That literally just came out in the last month or so. People expected before that the first appearance of Robin King was in Death Metal issue 3, right? There's that famous Federici variant now, actually, right? That was selling for like $35. It didn't even come out yet. $35, $40, right? We come and find out that's actually his second appearance. The first appearance is this one right here.
There you go.
Legends of the Dark Knight. And this book blowing up. And now the Federici variant, right, which went for like 35, $40 to $50, right, are dipping now to about $20, maybe even lower now, because that's technically his second appearance, even though it's a very beautiful cover, regardless. Like stuff like that is always good to know, because you, if you're definitely a buyer, it's always good to see where your reference points are, right? And as a seller, it's always good to know where your reference points are too. So it's always good to have, like, of course I use CLZ and I pay for the app. I have subscription base for it. And it's nice to have when they have it, you know, my CTCs, right, onloaded or loaded into the value statistic of my CLZ app. That's always nice, dude. Always nice.
Well, guys, that was I hope you guys got a lot of information on that. If you have any other questions, hit us up in the comment section below on the YouTube channel, or hit us up on social media. You can find us on Facebook, PS Comics I Love You. On Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, PS Comics I Love You, all one word. You can find us on Twitter, PS Comics I Love, the letter U. And just ask us some questions about CGC, and we'll answer as best we can. Like I said, I think that we could effort someone from CGC to help us out with a future episode about this, and I think we'll probably do that as we get closer to the con season.
Yeah, I would love to do it. I would love to do a on-site review too for one of the cons eventually. That'd be nice.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, dude.
Real quick, we'll wrap things up with our usual segment, and that is the flex pool. JR already got his rant, and we don't want to make him cry anymore about DC.
I'm angry.
Throw a little love out there. You know, I stumbled upon this artist, like a lot of other people did, with the Batgirl artwork. Joshua Middleton has become a big hitter. This is Wonder Woman number 760. Ooh. Joshua Middleton cover.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. Josh Middleton's doing Wonder Woman now, so that's good.
So that'll be a fun run. Guys, if Batgirl is any indication of what Middleton can do to a run and can do to a book, grab his shit.
Yeah.
The Batgirl number 23, the iconic white cover with Batman or Batgirl from the side, the cover, I mean, blew up literally within hours.
Yeah.
It's one of those books that comic stores open at 11 o'clock. It's on eBay by noon, going for nearly triple digits.
Yeah.
So if Middleton's going to be doing a Wonder Woman run, keep an eye on it. I know I am. Speaking of some of our favorites, this is Dark Knight's Death Metal 3. Of course, if it's Snyder and Capullo, you know it's good stuff. But you throw an art germ on the cover doing you know who, Supergirl, literally red hot on the cover. Art germ, once again, slaying it with Kara L. Just doing a great job. Also picked this up. This was the aforementioned Jen Bartel cover of Willow number 2 that came out this past week. This was created by Joss Whedon. It is that Willow, Willow from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is a Mariko Tamaki, Natasha Bustos, and Eleonora Bruni book from Boom Studios. But this is the Jen Bartel cover B book. I love her work. Just really, really cool cover. Check it out. Book's out now. It's 2 weeks in, I think. And it's kind of just taking a different approach to the character. Of course, Willow played by, I can't think of her name off the top of my head. She's the one that played Lily from How I Met Your Mother.
Anna.
Yeah, her.
Yeah.
But a big shout out, nothing but love for this girl. I don't know what I can say about her work except that it is breathtaking, mind-blowing, just amazing work. Sia Oam's Lola XOXO came to an end this past week. It is series number 3 of the Lola XOXO. It kicked off, first appearance was Madam of the Wasteland series, Lola Madam of the Wasteland, which I think came out like 2014. I got all that. I got that whole run from Aspen, from San Diego Comic-Con. Shout out to Aspen Comics, did a great job. But issue number 6 came out, cover A, really cool cover.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I was not going to let it slip through my hands, the super rare retail variant. Anytime you get you can get your hands on the retail variant. It's a great day. There it is, fantastic work by Sia. And check it out. Go to Aspen Comics' Facebook page too. There's a very emotional video that Sia put out talking about the end of the era. I don't know the story behind why Lola is coming to an end. When I talked to Sia at San Diego Comic-Con in 2019, she made it sound like that this was a character that she could do for a while. I talked to her briefly on Facebook on Wednesday. Or was it Thursday? No, it was on Thursday. And it sounds to me that she kind of wants to keep doing the character. So maybe there's something internally. I don't know.
Possibility. Maybe there's
possibility. So
yeah.
But her work is catching on too. She's killing it out there.
It's always probability for authors and writers and artists. Or like you also gotta look at viability of like if it's selling. That's a big thing too. I mean, it's always not coming at cost. But yeah.
But I also did get a surprise this past week. I got my first round of purchases from San Diego Comic-Con. My Art Germ Punchline t-shirt is actually in the wash right now. Gotta get that COVID clean off. And then also I got a buff, or as they call it, or it can be doubles as a gator. It's a blue and yellow gator, and it has the San Diego Comic-Con logo right here. But the biggest thing was a lot of pin collectors out there were worried that because of the no Comic-Con that there were going to be no pins. That is incorrect. There it is. Comic-Con International, Comic-Con San Diego 2020 official pin in my possession. Will be going on my lanyard for next year. Actually, that was the number 3 top seller on the Comic-Con website. Number 1 was the front of the line, into the line T-shirt, and the other one was the Punchline T-shirt from our term. Also managed to get myself an extra 2017 pin that was thrown in for free. Shout out to Comic-Con International for hooking me up. Still waiting for my other T-shirt to come in the mail. But, bro, the king of the flex, what you got this week?
Actually, not too much, man.
Not too much.
I'm actually kind of just chilling right now. But just show you some bigger stuff I got. Of course, you saw. I got like 3 more copies of this. The Dark Knight's Legend Dark Metal.
By the way, if you guys ever want to get a key issue at any of the stores in the Coachella Valley, wait in line on Wednesdays. And
I'll probably be there before you.
And just hope that there is not a large Filipino man waiting in line. It doesn't matter if it's JR or Javel. If they are there, just go to the other store.
I got this one off eBay.
Oh, dude. Is that the Campbell?
Yep. X-Men 92. I'm waiting for another one's being on sale by the same person. I'm waiting for the black and white.
So hold up.
Uh-huh.
Where are you at, you bastard?
Red Mother. Variant cover.
Hold up. This is very few times do I get to put the flex on JR.
Oh, you guys did too? Yeah.
Hold on. Bam! Right there, black and white variant.
I'm gonna get mine.
And but I just want to throw it out there. This was I think this was a Instagram purchase.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost positive that was a throw-in. I got it for free.
Okay.
That was
Now you're flexing my flex now, man. Come on.
Okay, no, my bad, bro.
It's not good.
That's clean. Like, I like that cover. Who was that?
This is a Something's Killing the Children variant cover of number 8, I think.
Something I could not get into collecting, just simply on the name of the title. I just not in good conscience.
Dude, it's brutal.
I know. I'm sure it is.
Brutal, bro.
I've heard it's good writing. It's something. It's not in good conscience. Could I bring that into the house and not be ridiculed by the wife? So.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to talk about it right here?
Nah, we can say that. We'll have to do an independent show.
Completely freaking like the first issue. Oh my! Like when they say something's killing children, yeah. I'm talking about something's beheading them.
All right.
But yeah, okay. Other than that, guys, y'all seen some of my CDCs, stuff we're gonna send in. Talking about that. If you guys have any questions, definitely let us know, man. About what else to send in CDC or just like about just the show in general, guys. Thank you very much again for just. I know we're trying to wrap up right now. Thank you very, very much again, guys, for just always supporting the show, always giving us shout outs on Instagram, on our socials, or just even like, when you're seeing us across the street or seeing us converse to our shop and all that.
When it comes to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe.
Yes, please.
The more you guys share the information about the YouTube channel, the more you subscribe, the more other people that subscribe, the more we can do with the channel. We're trying to move it forward. We're going to continue to load stuff up on here. People are asking with the audio format now available, are we going to switch? No, because as you saw today, there's so much visual element to our podcast. We appreciate all the feedback. Also, again, check it out, anchor.fm/PS Comics I Love You. The complete listing of all of the podcast, all the audio versions of the podcast that you can get it. And I'm going to try my damnedest to have stuff uploaded. Like today we're recorded on Sunday. Hopefully have stuff uploaded by the end of Monday. But it's very difficult because I have to edit the video and then get it to load on YouTube, and then I have to get it loaded to Anchor, and
just so you know, I'm trying to help him out, dude. But it's that I got a MacBook Air, and
Jared's just trying to manage freaking social media posts right now.
I'm just trying to. It is infuriating. Like, you'll know what I'm talking about if you guys have a MacBook, right? That little circle, freaking that stupid circle like rainbow effect that's always sticking because we have these long ass sessions, 2 to 3 hours long sometimes, man. And my MacBook Air can't handle that much RAM, so I'm trying to upgrade. I'm definitely trying to help out Kevin. Hopefully, I'm hoping, here's my pitch, we could do like some of the shorter segments. Maybe a top 10 of the week or whatever have you. I know we're trying to possibly do more stuff with it too, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to help this freaking guy not have so much on his plate because he is.
Nah, it's all good. I actually enjoy it because it's like I got this MacBook Pro over here, not to flex or anything, but
and also he is old, guys. So not joking. But yeah, guys, I need to try to get a MacBook Air too, man. But
again, guys, thank you so much for continuing to support the show. Support the shops that support us too. Check it out. Interstellar, Comic Asylum, Desert Oasis, and
big ups to all the guys, to everybody. Just supporting us on Instagram. Everybody who constantly just embellishes our obsession with comics and stuff like that, guys. So thank you very much. You had another point, bro?
I was going to end on this too, and then we'll go on. And then, if you guys have a topic that you want us to cover, hit us up on the social media and stuff. And we are going to get an email address. I know I need to add that as well. But if you are listening to us from out of the Coachella Valley, thank you so much, because one of the things I've gotten from our analytics from the audio format is we're not just being heard here in California, not just here in the Coachella Valley, but we've been listened in multiple other states. Hit us up too of comic shops that are in your neighborhood, and we'll hit them up, and maybe we can do an interview with your local shop, because that's what we're going to try to do probably in the very near future. Matter of fact, I might hit up Chick this week, and maybe we will do our first interview show this week, but we are still efforting a couple of really neat guests. I've sent some feelers out to some creators at Boom Studios and Aspen Comics, and we'll see what comes back. You never know. But I think we will do a segment very, very soon with the local comic book store owners, because I know that they're still dealing with the reopening COVID-19, regulations and stuff. And it looks to me like maybe Riverside County is going to get off the naughty list here pretty soon. So, hey,
here's hoping.
And cool. That which usually means that if we get off the naughty list and we can flatten the curve, Sid will come back out of hibernation up there in the wherever he's at there in like Montana or something like that. And we could talk to Sid too. Because God knows he does not have internet where he's at there in the freaking wild frontier. But anyways, that'll wrap up episode number 12, the CGC episode. Give us a freaking 10.0, guys. Go out there. If you're on any of the audio formats, give us a 5-star review. Hit us up with what you like or dislike about the show. If you're on YouTube, like the video, give us a review, subscribe, hit the bell for future notifications, and it makes us look good. He is J.R. Kambakungan, the Dark King.
And he is Kevin Pillow, the voice of reason. Thank you guys very much again for just tuning in. I know you had something big to say. What's up?
The 39-year-old Kevin Pillow.
I was gonna add that part, man. Again, guys, give this guy happy birthday on the socials, man. You'll find him, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Voice of Reason 23, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I do technically have people ask, do you have Snapchat? I do. Freaking uses it. And I do follow the orders of the federal government. I do not use TikTok. But that was long before that crap. So it's TikTok. It's terrible. Come on.
I know.
If you're using TikTok, you shouldn't even need the federal government to tell you not to use it. It's a hot mess, dude, bro.
Wait, if you're using TikTok, you're probably under the age of like 25.
And you're probably not collecting comic books.
Yeah.
So
yes.
All right, guys, have a great night. We will see you next week. We'll come up with a topic hopefully soon, because we don't have anything to preview tonight. Yeah. All right, guys, have a good one.
Later. Peace.